In the quiet moments of the evening, when the world begins to soften and settle into its natural rhythm, the human body continues its own gentle work, carrying on a quiet dialogue with itself that never truly stops. Among the many systems that sustain life, the immune system stands as one of the most subtle in its presence, and yet profoundly essential in its function. It is not loud or insistent, nor does it draw attention to itself in the way the heartbeat or breath might. Instead, it moves in the background with patience and care, maintaining a delicate balance that protects without disturbing, that acts without haste, and that remembers without noise. This memory is not like the memory of thought or emotion. It does not speak in words or images. It does not recall events in the way the conscious mind does. Instead, it remembers through gentle patterns of recognition, through quiet familiarity, through a steady awareness of what has passed before. As we move deeper into this calm space of understanding, imagine the immune system as a soft current flowing through every part of the body, not as a single structure, but as a presence that permeates the blood, the tissues, the organs, and the spaces between them. It is always there, watching in a patient, unhurried way. The immune system learns from experience, and what it learns becomes part of its inner wisdom. This learning is what allows the body to respond more smoothly and more efficiently with each passing encounter, as though it quietly tucks away fragments of the world and stores them for a later time. In this sense, immune memory is a companion to us, one that walks beside us every day, collecting small pieces of information and placing them gently into a library of biological understanding. The body, composed of countless cells working in harmony, is a landscape of continuous communication. Cells speak to one another through signals carried in the bloodstream, through molecules drifting through extracellular spaces, and through interactions at the surfaces where one cell brushes against another. These interactions form a network that is always shifting yet always cohesive, a web of constant, silent coordination, from the smallest tissues to the larger organ systems. In many ways, the immune system embodies this interconnectedness completely. It arises from multiple organs, travels through shared pathways, and cooperates with nearly every other system to maintain homeostasis, the steady internal environment the body relies on to stay in balance. When considering immune memory, it is helpful to imagine the body not as a collection of isolated parts, but as an intricate, living orchestra in which each instrument knows its role. Just as the endocrine system regulates hormones and the nervous system carries signals through delicate neural pathways, different kind of order, one rooted in recognition, adaptation, and recollection. It pays attention to the subtle details of encounters with the outside world. When a new particle, protein, or microorganism enters the body, the immune system approaches it with a kind of quiet curiosity. It studies the newcomer, taking note of its shape, its structure, and the molecular patterns that define it. These patterns are not cataloged in words or conscious memories, but in the resting cells that carry these impressions within them. To appreciate this kind of memory, imagine standing in a vast, peaceful landscape where soft winds move through tall grasses. You may not remember the exact motion of each blade or the specific path the breeze took, but the experience leaves an impression, a gentle familiarity that helps you recognize similar moments later on. The immune system functions in much the same way. When it encounters something unfamiliar, it responds methodically and patiently, and as it does so, it leaves behind a trail of understanding within the cells that participated. These cells remember not by reflecting on the past, but by changing in small, careful ways that persist long after the encounter is over. Even in its complexity, the immune system operates with remarkable calm. Within the flow of the bloodstream, immune cells drift in patient patterns, occasionally coming to rest within lymph nodes, which serve as the quiet meeting places of the immune world. These structures, nestled throughout the body, act like peaceful gathering halls where cells exchange information, reflect on encounters, and decide how best to respond to what they have learned. They are part of a larger network that supports the constant movement of cells and signals through the body's internal pathways. This circulation allows the immune system to stay connected to every region of the body, ready to notice subtle changes and respond with measured, thoughtful action. As we imagine these processes, it becomes clear that immune memory is not something rushed or forced. It arises slowly, through layers of experience, and settles deeply within the cells that continue to circulate quietly long after the initial moment has passed. These memory cells do not require attention or conscious thought. Instead, they remain at ease within the body's interior, awakening only when needed, ready to provide guidance shaped by the past. This is the beauty of immune memory, its subtlety, its patience. Now, picture the immune system in the background of your own life, acting while you rest, responding while you go about your quiet evenings, learning softly from the world with each passing day. Each encounter leaves behind a trace, a soft imprint in the internal fabric of the body's biology. Over time, these impressions accumulate, forming a serene archive of experience that helps the body move more gracefully through the changing world. Without ever intruding or pressing itself forward, the immune system honors its past encounters through this continuous, tranquil form of remembrance. As this part of our journey draws to a close, allow yourself to sink a little deeper into the peaceful idea that your body carries its own quiet wisdom. It knows how to hold its memories gently, and it does all of this in silence, offering a steady form of protection that asks for nothing in return. The immune system remembers softly, patiently, and faithfully, weaving each memory into a calm and ongoing story that unfolds quietly within you. 2. The landscape of immunity. The immune system can be imagined as a broad and gentle landscape, stretching quietly across the entire body, touching every organ, every tissue, every hidden surface, where the inner world meets the outer one. It is not limited to a single space, nor is it confined to one structure. Instead, it moves like a soft breeze through well-worn pathways, winding through the bloodstream, slipping through the lymphatic vessels, and pausing in the tissues that make up the body's internal geography. To understand the immune system as a landscape is to picture it not as a battleground, but as an expanse of calm interactions, each one contributing to the body's overall sense of balance and stability. Within this landscape, two broad forms of immunity coexist, the innate and the adaptive, and together they maintain a quiet sense of harmony that allows the body to remain steady and grounded despite the shifting conditions around it. The innate immune system is the first layer of this peaceful terrain. It exists from the moment a person is born, woven into the body without effort, ready to respond in a simple and predictable way to anything unfamiliar. Innate immunity does not learn or change in the way the adaptive system does. Instead, it works instinctively, sensing broad patterns that have remained consistent throughout the long evolution of life. In the softest terms, it is like the earth beneath a forest, solid and steady, providing a base that supports everything above it. This layer includes physical barriers such as the skin, which forms the quiet outer wall of the body, and the mucous membranes, which line gentle passageways with a layer of moisture that catches particles drifting through the air. Beneath these barriers lie immune cells that circulate with an unhurried rhythm, cells such as macrophages and neutrophils, simple in their approach yet deeply reliable in their presence. These innate elements act without hesitation whenever something unusual crosses their path, though they do so without urgency or alarm when we imagine them in a peaceful, sleep-oriented setting. Their task is simply to notice difference, to recognize patterns that do not belong, and to respond in ways that keep the body undisturbed. They do not ask for memory, and they do not require learning. Their wisdom is ancient, shaped by millions of years of life adapting to the world around it. In this sense, the innate immune system serves as the steady soil from which more refined forms of immunity can grow. In contrast to this instinctive groundwork stands the adaptive immune system, a quieter and more contemplative presence within the body's inner landscape. While the innate system responds broadly, the adaptive system learns, remembers, and adjusts. It is the part of the immune system that gains knowledge over time, observing the world with gentle attention and carrying those impressions long into the future. The adaptive system is built from cells that travel through the bloodstream with a kind of quiet purpose, pausing in the calm spaces of the lymph nodes and other tissues where communication flows continuously among the body's many organ systems. These nodes form a network of meeting places scattered throughout the body, allowing immune cells to gather, share information, and move in harmony with one another. They are part of a greater system of circulation and balance that supports the body as a whole. When we imagine the adaptive immune system, it helps to picture a soft field of cells drifting gently through the body, each one carrying with it the potential to recognize a specific pattern from the outside world. These cells do not act quickly. They take their time, exploring their environment with patience and responding only after thoughtful preparation. When they encounter something new, they do not rush into action. Instead, they pause and study, forming a deeper understanding of the encounter before deciding how to proceed. This creates a sense of calm within the internal landscape, as though the immune system is taking a moment to breathe before engaging with the world. The adaptive system works closely with the innate, relying on the groundwork that innate immunity provides, while adding its own layers of understanding. The innate system may be the first to notice something unfamiliar, but the adaptive system is the one that chooses to remember the encounter, storing its details quietly within specialized cells that will carry that memory for many years. These two branches of immunity are not separate or opposing forces. Instead, they blend together like neighboring valleys in a vast and gentle terrain, each one shaping the landscape and supporting the other in quiet, cooperative partnership. This partnership reaches far beyond simple response. The immune system as a whole interacts with other systems continuously, maintaining the delicate balance the body requires to function smoothly. The cardiovascular system provides the flowing pathways that carry immune cells throughout the body. The lymphatic system offers a network of soft channels where fluid moves with a kind of quiet persistence. It helps regulate water balance, pressure, and the transport of cells, achieving a state of equilibrium that supports immune function naturally. When water levels rise or fall within the body, these systems work in rhythm to restore stability, illustrating how deeply interconnected they are. Temperature regulation also depends on the cooperation of multiple systems: the cardiovascular, integumentary, respiratory, and muscular systems. Each contributes to maintaining warmth or releasing excess heat, showing again that the immune system is never alone in its work. It is part of a greater unity, a soft and coordinated network of activity that keeps the internal environment steady, even as the external world changes moment by moment. As we reflect on this landscape of immunity, it becomes clear that the immune system is not a rigid or isolated structure. It is a fluid environment, always adapting, always adjusting, always moving in a calm, cyclical pattern. The innate system and the adaptive system drift beside one another like two quiet streams flowing through the same forest. One stream is older, knowing only the simplest patterns carved into the earth through long ages. The other is younger, learning as it flows, gathering new impressions from each passing moment and tucking them into places where they can remain for years. Together, they create a landscape that is both protective and peaceful, steady and receptive, instinctive, yet capable of profound memory. As this part of the journey comes to rest, imagine the immune system within your own body functioning not as a reactive force but as a caretaker, moving slowly and thoughtfully through its familiar pathways. It senses, it responds, and it remembers all without urgency, all without struggle. It maintains its landscape with the same ease that night settles over a quiet field, surrounding everything in a calm that feels both natural and deeply reassuring. The immune system, in all its complexity, remains a gentle presence, shaping a landscape of protection that supports the body in a quiet, unending rhythm. 3. The pathways that connect us. Within the quiet interior of the human body, there exists a network of pathways that carry life forward in a soft, unbroken rhythm. These pathways stretch from the center of the chest into the limbs, through the organs, across the tissues, and into the smallest corners of the body's internal landscape. They are fluid highways, calm in their circulation and constant in their purpose, providing a means for cells, nutrients, and gentle signals to drift from one place to another without hurry or strain. In this tranquil setting, the immune system finds its channels of movement, using the bloodstream and lymphatic system as serene routes through which it can observe, respond, and quietly remember. These pathways are not rigid or mechanical. They behave more like living rivers, flowing in harmony with the body's deeper rhythms. Blood vessels form the first of these interconnected routes. The circulatory system weaves through every region of the body, wrapping each organ in a network of vessels that ensure a continuous flow of nourishment and communication. The heart's steady beat sends waves of warmth outward, guiding blood along its gentle course. Within this fluid river, immune cells float with graceful ease. Some drift aimlessly until they are needed, while others move with a quiet sense of direction, following chemical cues that guide them to tissues where their presence may be useful. What makes these cells so remarkable is not their urgency but their patience. They travel at the pace the body allows, unhurried and ever present, prepared for whatever they might encounter during their calm journey through the bloodstream. As these cells circulate, they glide past structures that support the body's stability, structures such as organs, bones, and soft tissues that maintain the body's form. These components do not act in isolation. Each organ is made of tissues, and each tissue is made of cells. They share signals, respond to changes, and work together to maintain homeostasis, the delicate balance that keeps the body steady despite the shifting conditions outside it. Understanding this cooperation is important because it illustrates how deeply interconnected the immune system's pathways are with the rest of the body. Each system influences the others, and no system works alone. Flowing alongside the circulatory system is the lymphatic system, a quieter and more subtle network of channels that mirrors the path of blood vessels while serving a different function. While blood carries nutrients, oxygen, and cells in a continuous loop, the lymphatic system moves fluid more gently, more slowly, pausing often in soft pockets known as lymph nodes. These nodes sit like quiet resting places along the lymphatic rivers, offering immune cells a sanctuary where they can gather, share information, and prepare themselves for whatever the body may need. The lymphatic flow is not driven by a strong central pump like the heart. Instead, it moves through small movements of muscles and the natural pressure changes that accompany breathing. This slower pace gives the lymphatic system a meditative quality, as though it were inhaling and exhaling with its own peaceful rhythm. The partnership between the bloodstream and the lymphatic system forms the foundation of the immune system's mobility. Through these pathways, immune cells explore every corner of the body, gaining a sense of the internal landscape and noting any gentle changes that might arise. When something unfamiliar appears, a particle, a protein, a small sign of imbalance, cells drift toward the source of the signal. Yet even then, the body maintains its quiet composure. These movements are gentle, guided by soft gradients of chemical communication rather than sudden bursts of activity. It is within this tranquil flow that the immune system develops its understanding of the world, encounter and storing those impressions for future reference. These pathways do much more than transport immune cells. They also create opportunities for cooperation among the body's organ systems. The cardiovascular system and lymphatic system contribute to the regulation of water levels, a task essential to maintaining the smooth movement of fluids. When water levels shift too high or too low, these systems respond with subtle adjustments. If too much water builds up, the lymphatic system helps remove the excess, delivering it to the bloodstream so it can be carried to the kidneys for gentle release. If too little water is present, the pathways reduce their flow, allowing the body to conserve what it has until balance is restored. This harmony between systems highlights the calm coordination that defines the body's internal environment. These same pathways also respond to the changing conditions of temperature. When warmth accumulates, blood vessels near the surface of the skin widen slightly, allowing heat to drift outward. When cold settles in, the vessels tighten, helping the body retain its quiet inner warmth. Muscles shiver in small, rhythmic contractions to generate additional heat when needed. And the respiratory system supports this process through gentle adjustments in breathing. All of these responses illustrate how deeply the pathways of immunity are tied to the broader function of the body. Temperature shifts, water balance, and immune communication all rely on these same fluid routes. They are highways not just of immunity, but of all essential life processes. As immune cells drift through these pathways, they also pass through regions where communication between the nervous, endocrine, and immune systems intertwines. The nervous system uses electrical impulses to send quick signals. The endocrine system uses chemical messengers known as hormones, which are delivered through the bloodstream. The immune system, in its own quiet way, contributes another layer of information, sending signals about the body's internal conditions. All these messages mingle within the bloodstream and lymphatic system, sharing information that helps guide the body's responses. The immune system learns through these interactions just as much as it learns from encounters with the outside world. Because the pathways of the immune system cross through many regions of the body, they also reveal how dependent life is on collaboration. No cell operates alone. No organ functions in isolation. Each part of the body plays a role in maintaining balance, and each one contributes to the calm movement of fluids that support immune function. Even the smallest shifts can ripple through these pathways, prompting gentle adjustments that bring the body back to its natural state of equilibrium. Picture these pathways now as rivers flowing through a peaceful valley at dusk. The water moves with purpose, but unhurried. It passes through open fields, slips between stones, and settles in quiet pools, where information gathers before drifting onward. The immune cells floating within these rivers are like tiny travelers, each carrying knowledge from one resting place to another. They are part of a larger story that unfolds continuously within the body, one that speaks not in words but in movement, presence, and gentle memory. As this part of the journey draws to a close, you may begin to sense the quiet beauty of these pathways. They sustain life with unwavering reliability. They transport the cells that protect us. They carry information that guides the body toward balance. They connect every part of the internal landscape, forming a gentle network through which the immune system learns, responds, and remembers. In this soft, uninterrupted flow, the body finds its harmony, and the immune system finds its voice not loud, not forceful, but steady and peacefully aware. 4 lymph nodes as resting places. Within the vast and gentle expanse of the body's internal landscape, there are certain places where movement slows, where drifting currents come to pause, and where the immune system gathers in quiet conversation. These places are the lymph nodes, small yet significant structures that sit along the winding pathways of the lymphatic system. Like calm, sheltered groves along a slowly flowing river, they are scattered throughout the body, beneath the jaw, nestled in the neck, tucked under the arms, resting in the chest, the abdomen, and the soft arc of the groin. Though they are small, often unnoticed in daily life, they are among the most peaceful and essential stations within the immune system's gentle network of communication. It is here that the body organizes its thoughts, so to speak, collecting and examining everything that drifts in from the wider world. To understand lymph nodes as resting places, imagine the lymphatic system as a quiet tributary of the larger circulatory system, carrying lymph fluid instead of blood. This fluid moves slowly and thoughtfully, without the strong push of a central pump. Its motion is guided by soft, muscular movements, by the rhythms of breathing, and by the natural pressure changes that arise as the body shifts through daily activities. Within this fluid drift immune cells, carrying tiny messages and impressions from tissues throughout the body. When they reach a lymph node, they pause, as though entering a peaceful clearing where ideas are shared, examined, and gently understood. The lymph node, in this sense, becomes not just a passageway, but a sanctuary for reflection and learning, a place where immune memory begins to take shape. The structure of a lymph node supports this restful, contemplative purpose. Each node is enclosed by a delicate capsule that creates a sense of calm containment. Inside, a soft web of cells and fibers forms pathways and chambers, tiny internal corridors where immune cells can walk slowly through their tasks. Here, dendritic cells display pieces of information gathered from the outside world, presenting these fragments to the quieter, more thoughtful cells of the adaptive immune system. These impressions may be parts of proteins, small molecular patterns, or other gentle clues that reveal what the body has encountered. The cells that observe these clues do not react in haste. Instead, they take their time, absorbing the details, learning the shapes, and forming the beginnings of a memory that may guide them far into the future. Through the lymph nodes, the immune system organizes itself with remarkable calm. It is in these soft structures that B cells and T cells often experience their first moments of recognition. As lymph flows into a node, it brings with it signals from the tissues, signals that may indicate a shift in the body's internal environment. The cells waiting within the node respond by meeting one another in slow, deliberate patterns. They exchange chemical messages, interact quietly at the surfaces of their membranes, and begin a gentle process of preparation. This is where the immune system decides, with understated clarity, how to understand the information it has received and how best to respond. The lymph nodes are deeply connected to the broader organ systems of the body, especially those involved in maintaining fluid balance and purification. The lymphatic system collaborates closely with the cardiovascular system, working in harmony to regulate the movement of fluids, the removal of waste, and the gentle return of purified lymph into the bloodstream. When the body experiences shifts in water levels, these systems coordinate to restore equilibrium. If fluid accumulates, the lymphatic system draws it back into circulation. If fluid decreases, the systems adjust to conserve what remains. This steady partnership helps maintain the quiet environment within which lymph nodes function, ensuring that immune cells have the peaceful conditions they require to reflect on the information they gather. As lymph nodes serve as resting stations, they also act as places of renewal. Within their soft interiors, immune cells can pause from their constant movement, reviewing what they have learned before drifting back into the wider pathways of the body. Some cells will leave the node unchanged, returning to their steady patrol. Others will depart transformed, carrying with them a new understanding that will influence how they behave in the days, months, or even years ahead. In this sense, lymph nodes are not just resting places but quiet schools where the immune system learns, adapts, and matures. Consider now the spleen, a larger companion to the lymph nodes, resting beneath the rib cage on the left side of the body. While the spleen is not a lymph node, it shares similar qualities of reflection and memory. It filters blood rather than lymph and serves as another peaceful space where immune cells gather, observe, and respond. Though the pathways differ, the intention remains the same. The immune system seeks spaces where it can slow down, learn, and prepare for future encounters. Each of these structures contributes to the overall rhythm of immunity, allowing the body to experience new information without becoming overwhelmed. The restful nature of lymph nodes becomes especially apparent when we consider how they contribute to the body's sense of internal calm. While immune responses can be complex, involving many types of cells and interactions, the lymph nodes provide a steadying influence. Their structure and function help regulate the flow of communication, ensuring that responses unfold in a thoughtful, controlled manner. Nothing is rushed, Nothing is forced. The immune system takes the time it needs to understand what is happening and to guide its actions accordingly. The gentle pause that occurs within a lymph node is an essential part of the immune system's memory, because this is where the system first distinguishes between encounters worth remembering and those that can be released without further thought. The immune system does not remember everything. It remembers what shapes will serve it in the future, what patterns hold meaning, and what signals indicate deeper importance. Lymph nodes provide the quiet environment necessary for this sorting process, a calm space where the system can reflect on what it has received, much like a person sorting through thoughts at the end of a long day. As lymph continues to flow through the body, the immune cells within it travel onward, carrying their newly formed impressions with the same gentle patience that brought them there in the first place. Some will settle quietly in the tissues, watching over their surroundings. Others will circulate through the blood or remain within the lymphatic pathways, drifting until another resting place invites their pause. Through this continuous journey, the immune system maintains its serene sense of awareness, always attentive, always learning, and always remembering softly. In this peaceful image of the body, the lymph nodes stand as quiet havens of understanding, supporting the immune system's delicate balance of observation and reflection. They remind us that even within the intricate workings of biology, there is room for rest, room for contemplation, and room for the gentle gathering of knowledge that guides the body through every season of life. 5. The adaptive immune system wakes across the quiet expanse of the body's inner landscape, where blood flows with its steady rhythm and lymph drifts in its gentle channels. There exists a moment when the immune system shifts from simple sensing to deeper understanding. It is a moment not defined by speed or urgency, but by a gradual awakening, like the soft lifting of morning light over a peaceful horizon. This moment belongs to the adaptive immune system, the thoughtful and contemplative arm of immunity that learns from experience, remembers encounters, and shapes its responses with a calm intelligence. When the adaptive immune system wakes, it does not rush or stir with sudden force. Instead, it rises slowly, listening, observing, and preparing to respond with measured care. To imagine the adaptive immune system awakening, picture a vast field of cells drifting gently through the bloodstream and settling quietly within lymph nodes, spleen, and the soft tissues of the body. These cells, B cells, and T cells, are not reactive by nature. They move through the body patiently, each one carrying a unique potential. They do not respond to every signal. They wait instead for a kind of recognition, a familiar shape, a subtle pattern that stands out gently from the surroundings. This pattern may come from a virus, a bacterium, a protein, or any particle that the body considers unfamiliar. But recognition does not happen instantly. It occurs slowly, through quiet interactions between cells, through the presence of antigens displayed thoughtfully by cells that have traveled from the tissues to the lymph nodes. The adaptive immune system wakes because it is invited to wake, awakened by the signals that tell it something new has entered the body's internal harmony. Before this awakening, the innate immune system has already done its work, responding broadly, marking the presence of something foreign, and guiding fragments of information toward the lymphatic resting places where the adaptive system resides. These fragments, called antigens, act as gentle keys that unlock the potential of B cells and T cells, but this unlocking is not forceful. It is a slow, peaceful moment of recognition, like a memory returning to someone who has been quietly resting. When a B cell encounters an antigen that matches the shape of its receptor, or when a T cell recognizes an antigen presented on the surface of another cell, the cell becomes aware, not fully active yet, but stirred from its calm state. Inside the lymph nodes, these small sanctuaries of reflection, this awakening takes place with particular grace. The structure of the node itself supports slow, steady communication. Immune cells move through its inner corridors methodically, pausing at points where dendritic cells display antigens collected from the body's tissues. These dendritic cells act like gentle storytellers, offering pieces of information to the adaptive cells that wait within. The B cells and T cells examine these fragments with care. When the match is found, the adaptive immune system awakens more fully, beginning a process that will eventually lead to memory. This awakening is the first step in a longer journey. Once a B cell or T cell recognizes an antigen, it begins to change, slowly at first, as though stretching after a long period of stillness. These cells enlarge slightly, then begin to divide. Their divisions are calm but purposeful, creating more cells that share the same recognition. This process, known as clonal expansion, is the immune system's way of assembling a gentle team of responders. Yet even here, the pace remains steady and unhurried. It takes its time to prepare, ensuring that each cell produced is capable of responding clearly and effectively. For B cells, this awakening leads to different paths. Some B cells become plasma cells, which quietly begin to secrete antibodies, soft, drifting molecules carried through the bloodstream like tiny notes of recognition. These antibodies move gently through the body, seeking out the patterns they were shaped to recognize. They do not disrupt the internal calm. Instead, they attach to the antigens with a kind of serene familiarity, marking them in a way that helps the immune system understand what to do next. Other B cells become memory B cells, storing the shape of the encounter like a calm recollection, resting in tissues where they may remain for years. T cells experience their own delicate awakening. Helper T cells begin to send soft chemical signals that guide the rest of the immune system, coordinating responses with quiet clarity. Cytotoxic T cells, in turn, prepare to watch for cells within the body that may need help, cells that have been altered or filled with unfamiliar patterns. These T cells act not with aggression but with precision, maintaining the well-being of the internal landscape through their discerning presence. Some T cells also become memory T cells, resting in tissues or circulating through the bloodstream. Throughout this process, the adaptive immune system continues to rely on the pathways that connect it to the rest of the body. The cardiovascular and lymphatic systems work together to deliver cells where they are needed, to maintain water balance, and to support the flow of information that guides immune responses. Water levels shift gently, regulated by kidneys and fluid pathways. Temperature changes are moderated by multiple systems: cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, integumentary, all acting in harmony. These processes support the calm internal environment that allows the immune system to wake slowly and respond thoughtfully. As the adaptive immune system awakens, it becomes clear that this form of immunity is not defined by confrontation but by understanding. It is a system that takes its time to learn, to reflect, and to remember. It responds with the same deliberate gentleness that defines the body's larger sense of balance. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. The immune system prefers to unfold its processes quietly, ensuring that each step is thoughtful, each response refined, each memory carefully formed. To picture this awakening is to imagine a calm sunrise spreading across a quiet meadow. The light touches everything slowly, gently, revealing the shapes of trees, grasses, and distant hills. In much the same way, the adaptive immune system illuminates the internal landscape of the body through recognition, transformation, and memory. It prepares itself not for battle but for clarity, guiding the body with its quiet wisdom. By the time the adaptive immune system is fully awake, it carries a deeper understanding of what the body has encountered. It holds on to this knowledge softly, storing it in memory cells that will drift quietly through tissues and lymph nodes long after the initial moment has passed. These memories form the beginning of lasting immunity, the foundation on which future responses will rest. And all of it begins with this gentle awakening, the calm moment when the adaptive immune system opens its eyes and begins to learn in earnest. 6. How the body recognizes patterns. Deep within the gentle interior of the human body, where countless cells drift in quiet harmony and where fluid pathways carry messages from place to place, there exists a remarkable form of awareness. It is not a conscious awareness, nor anything resembling thought or reflection. This awareness comes from the way the immune system recognizes patterns, soft, molecular signatures that help it understand what belongs to the body and what arrives from the world beyond it. These patterns are not dramatic or imposing. They are small, delicate, often invisible in scale, but they hold the information that guides the immune system in its calm, persistent watchfulness. To explore how the body recognizes these patterns is to explore one of the quietest and most beautiful aspects of immunity, for it reveals how the body learns to distinguish the familiar from the unfamiliar, the friend from the stranger, and the safe from the potentially harmful. The immune system recognizes these subtle signatures through structures known as antigens, tiny components of molecules or cells that carry identifying features. Antigens are like gentle impressions pressed into the surface of a larger object, each with a unique shape or arrangement of atoms. They may come from bacteria, viruses, pollen, or even from the body's own cells as they age or change. When these antigens drift into the internal pathways floating through the bloodstream or moving leisurely through the lymphatic system, the immune system notices them through receptors found on the surfaces of immune cells. These receptors are themselves quiet observers, positioned like watchful sentinels along the membranes of B cells, T cells, and many other forms of immune cells that circulate throughout the body. What makes this recognition so serene is the way it depends on shape and fit rather than force or urgency. Each receptor is shaped in its own distinct way, like a gentle keyhole. Each antigen, in turn, carries the shape of a key. When an antigen comes near a receptor that matches it, the two touch with a kind of molecular familiarity. This meeting is not rapid or explosive. It is subtle and quiet, guided by the natural tendency of molecules to seek structures that complement their own. The immune system relies on this delicate recognition to understand the nature of the antigens that drift through its pathways. It compares shapes, senses, patterns, and draws meaning from the small details carried along with these fragments. The innate immune system, which acts earlier and more broadly, recognizes general patterns, common molecular shapes, that appear on many microbes, but not within the body's own cells. These shapes might be simple structures found in bacterial cell walls or repeated patterns in viral components. The innate system's receptors are designed to sense these broad patterns, allowing it to respond with consistency and calm. But as peaceful and essential as this recognition is, it remains general, lacking the precision needed for deeper memory. The adaptive immune system, on the other hand, recognizes patterns with remarkable specificity. This is one of the reasons it wakes so gently, taking time to understand the particular details of each antigen it encounters. The receptors on B cells and T cells are highly specialized, crafted with extraordinary variety so that the body can recognize an immense range of molecular shapes. Each adaptive immune cell carries receptors that match only one specific pattern, much like a single note in a vast musical scale. When an antigen appears that matches the shape of one of these receptors, this process often takes place within the lymph nodes, those soft resting places where immune cells pause and learn from the fragments carried in by lymphatic flow. Dendritic cells within these nodes present antigens in a quiet, thoughtful way, holding them out for inspection. They do not push or compel a response. Instead, they allow B cells and T cells to drift near, to sense the patterns, and to awaken if the shapes align with their own. The calm structure of the lymph node supports this process beautifully. Its inner pathways slow the movement of lymph, giving cells the time they need to examine the antigens and form a gentle understanding. It is here, in these peaceful chambers, that the first steps of recognition guide the adaptive immune response toward deeper knowledge. Once an antigen is recognized, The immune cell does not leap immediately into full activity. It takes time to process the information, to reflect on what the pattern suggests. Recognition is only the first step in a long and contemplative journey. The immune cell must consider the clues presented to it, must gently confirm that the pattern is indeed meaningful, and must communicate with other cells to ensure that its interpretation aligns with the deeper network of immune awareness. This communication unfolds through calm exchanges of chemical signals, subtle molecules released into the space between cells that drift from one receptor to another like soft whispers carried through a quiet room. These signals allow the immune system to coordinate its response. Helper T cells may send messages that encourage B cells to activate, while dendritic cells may guide T cells toward certain types of recognition. Each message is part of a peaceful conversation, one that ensures the immune system responds not with haste, but with measured intention. Through these communications, the immune system determines whether the antigens indicate a familiar, harmless presence, or something that requires a deeper response. Antigens that represent true novelty awaken the full capacity of the adaptive immune system. When a unique pattern is encountered, the body begins to prepare for the possibility that it may need to respond again in the future. The memory cells that arise from this preparation carry the pattern with them long after the antigen has disappeared. These memory cells drift through the bloodstream or rest in tissues, carrying with them the quiet recognition of the shape they once matched. They hold on to this memory with a gentle persistence, allowing the body to respond more smoothly if the same pattern ever returns. To appreciate how peaceful this process is, imagine a person walking through a familiar forest. Over time, they learn the shape of the trees, the curve of the path, the way the light filters through the leaves. Even without conscious effort, they come to recognize each detail. The immune system, in its own way, forms impressions through antigens, learning their shapes and carrying them forward into the future. This capacity to recognize patterns is deeply tied to the interconnectedness of the body's organ systems. As immune cells circulate, they pass through tissues governed by the cardiovascular, lymphatic, and endocrine systems. These systems regulate water balance, temperature, and blood flow, creating the stable internal environment that allows recognition to occur smoothly. The body must remain within a narrow range of conditions for cells to function well, and many systems work together to maintain this gentle equilibrium. Water levels are controlled through kidneys and blood vessels, while temperature is regulated through the combined efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, and muscular systems. Through these quiet processes, the body protects the serene environment in which immune recognition can unfold without disturbance. As Part 6 draws to a quiet close, the image of pattern recognition becomes clearer. It is not a dramatic or forceful event. It is a soft meeting of shapes, a peaceful understanding, a calm noticing that guides the immune system toward memory and meaning. In the stillness of the body's inner landscape, tiny encounters shape the wisdom of immunity. These patterns become the threads of a quiet tapestry that the immune system weaves over time, adding each new detail with the same gentle patience that defines life's most enduring forms of knowledge. 7. The first encounter. In the quiet interior of the human body, where cells drift gently through their fluid pathways and tissues rest in their natural rhythms, there comes a moment that marks the beginning of immune learning. It is a moment that unfolds softly, without alarm, like the first ripple on a still pond. This is the first encounter, the initial meeting between the immune system and something new, something the body has not seen before. It might be a tiny fragment from the outside world, a small protein carried on a breath of air, or a particle from a microbe drifting quietly into the body's inner spaces. Whatever form it takes, the first encounter is never rushed, never shocking. It is simply the beginning of a conversation between the body and the world that surrounds it. Imagine a piece of this unfamiliar material, an antigen settling gently into a tissue where the body's cells quietly work. At first, nothing changes in a noticeable way. Cells continue to carry out their peaceful routines, Blood flows with its steady rhythm, lymph drifts through its soft channels, and yet, beneath this calm surface, there is a quiet awareness. The innate immune system, always present and always observant, notices the subtle difference between what belongs and what does not. This recognition is not precise or detailed, but broad and instinctive, shaped by patterns that have guided life for countless generations. Macrophages and dendritic cells, ever patient wanderers of the immune landscape, move closer to the unfamiliar presence. They do not rush. Instead, they approach with steady intention, sensing the molecular patterns that mark the antigen as something worth observing more closely. These cells gently envelop the unfamiliar particle, taking it into their interiors as naturally as breathing. Inside these calm cells, the antigen is examined and quietly processed. The dendritic cells, in particular, begin to prepare the antigen in a way that will help the adaptive immune system understand it more deeply. They break it down into small fragments, each fragment carrying a delicate pattern that tells a story about the world beyond the body's boundaries. These fragments are then displayed on the surface of the dendritic cell, held gently in place like notes ready to be shared in a gathering of thoughtful listeners. Once prepared, the dendritic cells begin their journey toward the lymph nodes. This journey is slow and measured, guided by soft chemical gradients that lead them through tissues and into the lymphatic pathways. As they travel, lymph flows around them, carrying additional cells and small molecules that support the body's balance. The lymphatic system moves at a tranquil pace, without the forceful push of a central pump, relying instead on the movements of muscles and the subtle shifts of breathing. In this serene environment, the dendritic cells make their way toward the nodes, where adaptive immune cells wait in quiet stillness. Within the lymph nodes, the resting places of immune reflection, the atmosphere is one of peaceful readiness. B cells and T cells drift through the inner corridors, pausing near gentle streams of lymph where dendritic cells arrive with their softly offered fragments. When the dendritic cell reaches the node, it settles in a place where T cells can find it easily. Here, it displays the antigen fragments like small invitations, encouraging the adaptive cells to explore these new patterns. This moment marks the beginning of a deeper form of recognition. A T cell, drifting calmly through the node, comes across the dendritic cell and senses the antigen fragment. If the shape of the fragment fits the shape of the T cell's receptor, recognition blooms quietly within the cell. This recognition is like a spark of understanding, a gentle moment when the adaptive immune system begins to wake more fully. But even now, nothing is rushed. The T cell does not leap into action. Instead, it takes time to absorb the meaning of the encounter, communicating softly with the dendritic cell through chemical signals that guide the next steps of activation. As this first encounter unfolds, the immune system remains grounded in balance. The cardiovascular system continues its peaceful circulation, delivering oxygen and warmth to every region of the body. The lymphatic system keeps fluid levels steady, preventing the tissues from becoming overwhelmed. The endocrine system sends its slow, steady signals, helping regulate the body's internal conditions. Each system works in harmony, maintaining homeostasis so that the immune system can learn without strain. Within this calm environment, the T cell begins to transform. It grows slightly, then begins to divide with quiet purpose, creating more cells that share its recognition. These newly formed T cells are like gentle echoes of the original, ready to guide the immune system through the next stages of understanding. Some assist other immune cells, helping B cells awaken and prepare their own response. Others prepare to support tissues directly, staying attentive to any signs of imbalance. The activation is not frantic. It is methodical, deliberate, unfolding like a slow blooming flower. Meanwhile, B cells, observing the antigen fragments, begin to stir as well. If they encounter a piece of the antigen that matches their receptors, they too awaken. though they often wait for guidance from helper T cells before fully activating. This cooperative process adds another layer of calm communication to the first encounter. Cells speak through chemical messages, sending soft signals that encourage one another to prepare, to learn, and to grow in ways that support the body's future preparedness. As these cells transform, divide, and gradually awaken, the immune system shapes the foundation for memory. The first encounter is not simply about responding to the unknown. The immune system observes the shape of the antigen, understands it, and begins storing it within the quiet spaces of memory cells. These memory cells will carry the knowledge forward long after the antigen has disappeared, ensuring that the body remembers the pattern with gentle clarity if it ever appears again. Throughout this entire process, the body remains in a state of quiet continuity. The immune system does not lose its composure. It does not disrupt the serenity of the internal environment. Instead, it integrates the new information into its ongoing rhythm, creating a place for this experience within the larger tapestry of immune understanding. The first encounter becomes the beginning of a soft imprint, a foundation upon which deeper memory will be built. In this way, the first encounter is not a moment of confrontation, but a moment of gentle recognition. It is a meeting, a quiet exchange, a soft awakening within the body's inner calm. Everything unfolds slowly, gracefully, in harmony with the steady rhythms of life. And as the adaptive immune system begins to learn, the body takes one more step toward a deeper and more enduring kind of memory, one that will support it quietly through the many seasons of life ahead. 8 B cells begin their work within the quiet landscape of the immune system, where each cell moves with patient rhythm and every signal drifts like a soft whisper between neighboring structures. There comes a moment when the B cells begin their gentle transformation. This moment, arising after the first encounter has invited the adaptive immune system to wake, is not abrupt or demanding. It unfolds slowly, almost like the opening of a delicate flower at dawn, subtle, gradual, and deeply meaningful. The B cells, which have drifted calmly through the bloodstream and lymphatic pathways, they settle into the resting chambers of the lymph nodes, where the atmosphere is quiet, reflective, and perfectly suited to careful understanding. B cells are unique among the cells of the immune system, for they carry on their surfaces receptors that are shaped to recognize specific patterns found in the antigens that drift in from the outer world. These receptors are not broad or general. Each one corresponds to a single, delicate shape. The body produces an immense variety of B cells, so that together they form a vast library of potential recognition. For many B cells, the entire span of their existence passes without ever encountering the one antigen that fits their receptor. They wander quietly, observant but unengaged, part of the tranquil flow of the body's inner movement. Yet when the right antigen appears, when its shape aligns perfectly with the receptor's gentle contours, the B cell experiences a moment of quiet awakening. This awakening begins with contact, a calm meeting that sparks recognition. As the antigen touches the receptor, the B cell senses that something meaningful has arrived. But recognition alone is not enough. B cells, in their careful wisdom, usually wait for additional confirmation from helper T cells before fully beginning their work. These helper T cells, awakened earlier from their own first encounter with the antigen, drift through the lymph node and send soft signals to nearby B cells. These signals, carried by chemical messengers, encourage the B cell to trust its recognition and prepare for transformation. This requirement for 2 different forms of recognition, one from the antigen itself and one from the T cells, ensures that the B cell acts not from haste, but from thoughtful certainty. Once this calm confirmation is received, the B cell begins to change. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, it enlarges. The quiet interior of the cell shifts as it prepares for a task that requires both energy and clarity. This moment marks the beginning of clonal expansion, the process by which the B cell makes many copies of itself. Each copy shares the same receptor, the same soft understanding of the antigen's shape. Through this multiplication, the immune system gathers a collection of cells, all ready to participate in the unfolding response. The expansion is steady and deliberate, taking the time it needs to ensure that each new cell is fully prepared. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is abrupt. Everything follows the natural pace of the body's internal rhythms. As this group of B cells grows, something remarkable begins to occur. Some of the B cells transition into plasma cells, which take on a new role within the immune system. Plasma cells become the gentle creators of antibodies, small proteins that drift freely through the bloodstream and lymph, carrying the memory of the antigen's shape with them. These antibodies are like soft, floating messages notes carried on a breeze, each one designed to bind to the antigen that inspired its creation. When an antibody encounters its matching antigen, it attaches to it with quiet familiarity. This attachment does not destroy or disrupt. Instead, it marks the antigen, helping the immune system understand where attention is needed while maintaining the calm balance of internal processes. The production of antibodies is one of the most elegant aspects of immune function. Plasma cells settle in the bone marrow, the spleen, or the lymph nodes, producing antibodies steadily and persistently. Their work is gentle but enduring, contributing to the body's awareness long after the initial encounter has passed. These antibodies drift throughout the internal landscape, exploring the quiet rivers of bloodstream and lymphatic flow, observing any lingering signs of the antigen they were created to recognize. Their presence brings a sense of quiet reassurance, as though the immune system has placed small lanterns throughout the body to keep watch. While some B cells become plasma cells, others transform into memory B cells. These memory cells do not secrete antibodies. Instead, they carry the recognition of the antigen within them. Memory B cells settle into tissues or circulate through the body, resting calmly until they are needed again. If the same antigen ever returns, these memory cells awaken with gentle clarity, recognizing the familiar shape and guiding the immune system toward a smoother, more graceful response. Their presence is one of the reasons the body can respond more quickly and effectively after a second encounter. Not through alarm, but through quiet familiarity. Throughout this entire process, the body remains grounded in homeostasis, the balanced state that supports all forms of immune activity. The cardiovascular system maintains the steady flow of blood, delivering oxygen and warmth to tissues. The lymphatic system continues to offer calm channels for immune cells to travel, slowing their movement within the lymph nodes to give them time to learn and reflect. Water balance remains steady through the combined efforts of the circulatory and lymphatic pathways. Temperature is regulated through the coordinated actions of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems, ensuring that the internal environment remains calm and supportive. It is within this stable environment that B cells perform their work. Their transformations from quiet observers to active creators of antibodies or carriers of lasting memory take place gently, supported by the body's larger sense of harmony. Nothing in the process disrupts the internal calm. The B cells simply follow their natural path, moving through phases of recognition, confirmation, expansion, and differentiation with the same soft patience that governs all immune activity. To imagine this process is to picture a peaceful workshop filled with artisans who craft delicate patterns by hand. The B cells are like these artisans, taking the patterns they have learned and transforming them into something tangible and meaningful. The antibodies they create drift out into the world as gentle reminders of the encounter, while the memory B cells carry the impression forward into the future. As this part comes to a quiet close, the beauty of the B cells' work becomes clear. It is not a process of urgency but of reflection, not a process of disruption but of understanding. The B cells contribute to the immune system's memory with steady hands and peaceful presence, helping the body remember softly and respond gracefully. Their work forms the foundation of long-lasting immunity, ensuring that the body remains both protected and calm in the face of all it may encounter. 9. The creation of memory. B. Cells. In the quiet after the first encounter has unfolded, and the early waves of immune understanding have settled into place, something gentle and profoundly important begins to occur within the body's inner landscape. It is a moment of transition, not marked by noise or urgency, but by a deeper form of stillness. Here, amid the calm chambers of the lymph nodes and the softly flowing pathways of lymph and blood, certain B cells begin to step into a new role. These cells have already awakened to the presence of a unique antigen, have received guidance from helper T cells, and have taken part in the slow, deliberate expansion that gives rise to plasma cells. But not all B cells will become the steady artisans that produce antibodies. Some will take another path, one that requires them to hold on to the memory of the encounter in a way that will last far beyond the present moment. These are the memory B cells, the long-living archivists of the immune system, and their creation marks one of the most enduring acts of immune learning. The transformation of a B cell into a memory B cell begins with recognition and activation. Much like the pathways that lead to the creation of plasma cells, a naive B cell, drifting peacefully through the lymph node, recognizes an antigen through its receptor, an encounter that awakens it gently. Helper T cells confirm this recognition through soft chemical signals, guiding the B cell toward a deeper understanding of the antigen's shape and meaning. Once this dual recognition is complete, the B cell begins to divide, creating a small group of identical cells, each carrying the same quiet impression of the antigen. This group is known as a clone, a cluster of cells all capable of responding to the antigen in similar ways. But within this group, different destinies begin to unfold, shaped by the subtle signals that drift through the inner environment of the lymph node. Some of these cells will move toward the path of becoming plasma cells, dedicating themselves to the creation of antibodies that float through the bloodstream like soft messages. Others, however, receive a different set of signals, gentle cues, that invite them to enter a state of long-term presence rather than active production. These signals guide the cells toward a quieter, more reflective future. They will not create antibodies immediately. Instead, they will hold onto the memory of the antigen, storing its pattern in their structure and preparing themselves to awaken at some distant time, should the same antigen return to the body's landscape. The developing memory B cells begin to settle deeper into the lymph node or move into the bone marrow, where the environment is peaceful and supportive of long-term rest. The bone marrow, with its soft, spongy tissue and slow circulation, offers memory B cells a sanctuary where they can remain undisturbed. Here they take on a quiet, vigilant, state alive, present, but largely inactive. Their purpose is not to act in the moment, but to wait with patience and clarity, carrying within them the imprint of the antigen like a preserved fragment of knowledge. It is this waiting that makes memory B cells so remarkable. They do not decay quickly. They do not drift aimlessly or lose their sense of purpose. Instead, they remain steady and attentive, sometimes for years or decades, holding the memory of the antigen within their quiet interiors. This persistence is supported by the body's gentle internal balance, the homeostasis maintained by many organ systems working together. The cardiovascular and lymphatic systems continue to regulate water levels, ensuring that tissues remain neither swollen with excess fluid nor depleted by loss. When water levels rise, the lymphatic system helps absorb the excess and return it to the bloodstream. When they fall, these systems adjust to conserve what remains. These steady adjustments keep the internal environment in a state that supports the longevity of memory B cells. Temperature regulation also plays a role in maintaining this environment. The combined efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems ensure that the body stays within the narrow range that supports cellular health. Blood vessels widen or narrow to release or conserve heat. Muscles generate warmth through tiny, rhythmic contractions. The respiratory system adjusts the temperature of the air entering the body. All of these processes maintain a calm internal climate in which memory cells can persist without strain. Memory B cells rest within this balanced environment like seeds held in the quiet soil of a forest floor. They carry within them the potential to awaken swiftly if the same antigen ever returns. This awakening is far gentler than the initial encounter. Because the memory B cells already know the shape they are looking for, they do not need to experience the long process of recognition, confirmation, and clonal expansion that occurs the first time. Instead, they stir almost immediately, recalling the antigen's pattern with soft familiarity. They begin to divide, producing new B cells that can quickly become plasma cells. These plasma cells then create antibodies with a speed and precision that reflects the wisdom stored in memory. This quick, yet calm awakening is one of the reasons that memory B cells are essential to long-term immunity. If a familiar antigen enters the body again, the immune system does not need to start from the beginning. It does not need to learn anew. Instead, it responds with a gentle clarity born from past experience, reducing the time needed to create antibodies and allowing the body to maintain its internal equilibrium with minimal disruption. The response is not aggressive but refined, shaped by the memory B cells that have been waiting with quiet patience. Within the tissues, memory B cells may also take on a slightly different role. Some remain in circulation, drifting through the bloodstream or lymphatic channels, ready to encounter the antigen wherever it may appear. Others rest within the tissues themselves, forming part of a distributed network of vigilant cells. These tissue-resident memory B cells are like small lanterns placed throughout the landscape, offering localized awareness that further supports the body's ability to respond with grace and precision. The creation of memory B cells reflects the deeper theme that runs through the immune system: the balance between response and rest, between learning and remembering. Each memory B cell is a testament to the immune system's ability to hold on to its experiences softly, turning each encounter into something useful for the future without disturbing the body's natural calm. Their presence ensures that the immune system does not simply react to the world but grows from it, integrating each new piece of information into the quiet wisdom that protects the body. As Part 9 draws to a close, the gentle purpose of memory B cells becomes clear. They are the keepers of experience, the quiet guardians of recognition, the archivists who hold onto the shapes of the world long after the world has moved on. They rest within the body's tranquil interior, carrying the soft imprint of every meaningful encounter, ready to awaken only when needed. Through their presence, the immune system becomes not just a protector, but a quiet learner, one that remembers with patience, responds with clarity, and supports the body with an enduring sense of calm. 10 tons, cells and their quiet guidance. In the peaceful expanse of the immune system, where messages drift softly through the bloodstream and cells move with an unhurried rhythm, there exists a group of cells whose presence brings an added layer of thoughtful coordination. These are the T cells, gentle guides whose quiet work helps shape the body's deeper understanding of the world it encounters. While B cells carry the power to create antibodies and to forge long-lasting memory of patterns, T cells offer direction, clarity, and steady support. Their role is not loud or demanding. Instead, they move like soft currents beneath the surface, influencing subtle pathways, helping conversations unfold between cells, and ensuring that the immune system responds with balance, precision, and a sense of inner calm. T cells, like B cells, originate in the bone marrow, but they undertake a unique journey early in life. They travel to the thymus, a small organ that rests softly behind the breastbone. The thymus is a sanctuary for development, a place where T cells mature, learn, and refine their understanding of the patterns that define the body's interior. Within the quiet chambers of the thymus, T cells are guided through a process that teaches them how to recognize antigens in the presence of the body's own molecular markers. This practice ensures that when they eventually leave the thymus and enter the bloodstream. They can distinguish between what truly belongs to the body and what comes from the world beyond. The thymus does its work gently and patiently, allowing T cells to take the time they need to develop a balanced recognition before joining the broader immune landscape. Once mature, these T cells drift into the lymphatic pathways and blood vessels, moving through the body with the same soft currents that guide all immune cells. Their receptors' specialized structures that allow them to recognize antigens are shaped with exquisite specificity. Yet, unlike B cells, which can recognize free-floating antigens directly, T cells require antigens to be presented to them by other cells. This requirement adds a layer of conversation to the immune system's functioning. Dendritic cells, macrophages, or B cells carry fragments of antigens on their surfaces, offering them to T cells in a quiet, thoughtful gesture. When a T cell notices that the shape of the antigen fits its receptor, a gentle spark of recognition begins to form. Recognition for T cells is a moment of awakening, much like the soft opening of a door. The cell does not react with haste. It is stirred, attentive, preparing itself for the possibilities that lie ahead. The environment around the T cell supports this awakening. The lymph nodes slow the movement of lymph, giving T cells the space to examine the antigen closely. Other cells gather nearby, forming a calm circle of communication in which information is shared not through abrupt action, but through the slow, steady exchange of chemical messages. These messages guide the T cell, encouraging it toward a deeper activation that will help shape the immune system's overall response to the unfamiliar presence. Among T cells, different roles emerge, each one contributing its own gentle form of guidance. Helper T cells, often referred to as CD4+ T cells, take on the role of coordinators. When activated, they release soft chemical signals, cytokines that drift outward to nearby cells. These signals act like quiet invitations, encouraging B cells to begin their work or guiding macrophages to continue their careful examination of the antigen. Helper T cells also support cytotoxic T cells, helping them understand when and how to offer assistance to cells in need. Through their signaling, helper T cells create a sense of harmony, ensuring that each part of the immune system acts in a way that supports the whole. Cytotoxic T cells, also known as CD8+ T cells, play a different yet equally gentle role. Their purpose is to help maintain the integrity of the body's internal landscape by identifying cells that may be carrying unfamiliar patterns inside them. This might occur when a virus has entered a cell, subtly changing its internal environment. Cytotoxic T cells do not move through the body with aggression. Instead, they drift with a calm awareness, examining cells carefully. When they encounter one that carries an antigen fragment on its surface, presented through the body's natural molecular markers, they recognize that the cell may need support. The cytotoxic T cell then releases soft chemical signals that gently encourage the troubled cell to retire from the body's internal community. This process is measured, precise. The activation and guidance of T cells also depend on the broader cooperation of organ systems working quietly in the background. Homeostasis is maintained through the ongoing collaboration between the cardiovascular, lymphatic, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems. Blood flow carries oxygen, warmth, and nutrients to tissues, supporting the health of immune cells. The lymphatic system guides fluid gently through the nodes, offering T cells places to meet antigens and share information. Water balance remains carefully regulated through the interplay between blood vessels and lymphatic channels, ensuring that the internal environment remains neither too swollen nor too depleted. Temperature is also kept within a narrow range, allowing T cells to function optimally without strain. Blood vessels widen or narrow to disperse or conserve heat. Muscles contribute to warmth through small contractions, and the skin helps release excess warmth into the environment. These processes form a quiet backdrop against which T cells continue their work, ensuring that their movements and communications occur in a stable and nurturing setting. Some T cells, once activated, will become memory T cells, mirroring the gentle persistence seen in memory B cells. These memory T cells reside within lymph nodes, tissues, or circulate through the bloodstream, carrying with them the recognition of the antigen. Their presence ensures that if the same antigen appears again, the immune system will be able to respond with quiet efficiency. Memory T cells awaken swiftly but calmly, guiding the body toward a refined and thoughtful response. Their existence reflects the immune system's long-term strategy of learning from experience and holding on to knowledge without overwhelming the internal peace. To imagine T cells at work is to imagine a group of soft-spoken guides moving through a peaceful village, offering direction when needed, supporting others with patience, and making decisions with thoughtful clarity. They do not seek attention. They do not rush. Instead, they act with a sense of purpose that aligns with the body's natural preference for harmony. Their movements are gentle, their signals quiet, their presence steady. As we reach the end of Part 10, the quiet wisdom of T cells becomes clearer. They are not the loud protectors of the immune world, but its subtle guides, cells that examine, assist, communicate, and remember. Through their work, the immune system maintains a state of balance, responding to the unfamiliar without losing its sense of calm. T cells provide direction in moments of uncertainty, clarity in moments of recognition, and reassurance in moments of rest. They are the silent teachers of immunity, shaping responses with their quiet guidance and supporting the body through every gentle rise and fall of its internal rhythms. 11 memory T cells take their places. As the gentle work of the immune system unfolds, guided by the soft awakenings of B cells and the thoughtful coordination of T cells, the body begins to shift into a quieter phase of its response. The unfamiliar presence that stirred the adaptive immune system has now been examined, understood, and addressed with the calm precision that defines the body's inner workings. But the immune system's wisdom does not end when the immediate need fades. Instead, something even more serene begins to take shape, a long-lasting form of awareness that will remain within the body for years, perhaps even for a lifetime. This is the moment when memory T cells quietly take their places. Their creation is the result of many subtle steps, each one unfolding in the calm environment provided by the lymph nodes, spleen, and tissues. As the initial response begins to settle, activated T cells, both helper T cells and cytotoxic T cells, reach a gentle crossroads. Not all of them will continue in their active roles. Some will naturally retire as the immune system restores its equilibrium, but a select few will receive soft chemical signals that guide them toward a different destiny. These cells begin to adopt a quieter posture, reducing their activity, yet holding on to the recognition of the antigen that awakened them. This transformation is slow and thoughtful. The memory T cell does not need to produce antibodies, nor does it need to engage with cells carrying unfamiliar patterns unless the antigen appears again. Instead, its purpose is to rest with awareness. Once the shift into memory begins, the cell's structure changes in delicate ways. It becomes more resilient, able to live for long periods while using minimal energy. This quiet endurance is part of what makes memory T cells so remarkable. They carry within them a deep understanding of the antigen, waiting in silence until the body needs their guidance once more. Some memory T cells remain in circulation, drifting through the bloodstream with a kind of peaceful vigilance. These circulating memory T cells travel the body's internal pathways, carried gently by the flow of blood and lymph. They serve as a floating reservoir of recognition, ready to encounter familiar antigens wherever they may appear. Their presence ensures that the immune system's memory is not fixed to a single location, but spread throughout the landscape of the body, ready to rise in quiet coordination if needed. Other memory T cells take on a more rooted role. These tissue-resident memory T cells settle into the tissues themselves, becoming part of the quiet architecture that lines the skin, the lungs, the digestive tract, and other areas where the body meets the world. They rest in these spaces like small lanterns placed throughout a vast and peaceful valley. Though they appear inactive, They carry the precise imprint of the antigen, prepared to awaken with familiar clarity at the first sign of its return. Their presence allows the body to respond quickly and gently to something it has already met, minimizing disruption and preserving the body's inner calm. The creation and placement of memory T cells reflect the immune system's deep reliance on homeostasis, the steady, balanced environment that allows all cells to function peacefully. Many systems contribute to this balance. The cardiovascular system maintains the gentle flow of blood, ensuring that oxygen, nutrients, and warmth reach every corner of the body. The lymphatic system carries fluid with quiet persistence, transporting immune cells to resting places like lymph nodes, where information is shared and preserved. Water levels are regulated through a delicate exchange between vessels and tissues, keeping the internal environment soft and stable. When water levels rise, the lymphatic system helps remove the excess. When they fall, the body conserves what it needs. Temperature regulation also plays a supporting role. Through the combined efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems, the body maintains its gentle internal climate. Blood vessels adjust to release or retain heat. Muscles generate warmth through small, natural contractions, and the skin helps channel temperature outward when needed. These processes keep memory T cells comfortable and undisturbed, allowing them to persist for long stretches of time. Within lymph nodes and tissues, memory T cells become part of a network of quiet guardianship. They do not disrupt the body's rhythm or dominate the immune system's communication. Instead, they blend into the background, their presence subtle enough not to disturb daily function, and yet strong enough to provide reassurance if the immune system ever faces a familiar challenge. If the original antigen reappears, these memory T cells awaken not with alarm but with calm certainty. Because they have already learned the shape of the antigen, they require no long period of study. They do not need the extended conversations that occur during the first encounter. Instead, they begin guiding the response almost immediately, communicating with other immune cells through soft chemical signals and helping the body respond with quiet efficiency. This faster response does not disrupt the internal harmony of the body. Rather, it supports the immune system's preference for balance. The familiar antigen is recognized, addressed, and resolved with minimal strain. The tissues feel little disruption. Blood flow remains steady. Temperature stays stable. The internal systems continue their gentle, collaborative work. All the while, the memory T cells carry out their purpose with the same peaceful clarity that guided their creation. One of the most remarkable qualities of memory T cells is their ability to remain adaptable. Though they hold a specific memory, they stay open to communication with other cells. They may drift to new areas if summoned by quiet chemical messages. They may rest deeper within a tissue if they sense that their presence contributes to stability. Their adaptability allows the immune system to maintain its flexible strength, responding to the world while preserving a restful internal atmosphere. To picture memory T cells in their resting places is to imagine a quiet garden at dusk. The light is soft, the air still, and scattered throughout the garden are small lanterns, each one holding a gentle flame. These lanterns do not shine brightly or demand attention. They simply glow with quiet purpose, ready to guide the traveler who may pass by again. This is the role of memory T cells. They illuminate the body's internal landscape not with brightness, but with understanding. They provide guidance not through force, but through remembrance. As Part 11 draws to its gentle close, the significance of memory T cells becomes clear. They embody the immune system's long-term wisdom, carrying memories softly through the body's inner pathways. Their presence ensures that the immune system does not need to relearn what it has already understood. Instead, it can respond with calm familiarity, preserving the body's quiet balance even when the world beyond it changes. Through their silent guidance, memory T cells help the immune system grow wiser with each encounter, supporting the body in a way that feels natural, enduring, and deeply serene. 12. where immune memory lives across the quiet inner landscape of the body, where each system supports the next with gentle coordination. The places that hold immune memory form a network of remarkable stillness. These spaces are not loud, nor are they grand in appearance. They are tucked away in the soft tissues, nestled in the lymph nodes, resting in the bone marrow, and spread through subtle layers of the body's interior. To understand where immune memory lives is to step into these quiet regions, noticing the calm collaboration that allows memory B cells, memory T cells, and the remnants of past encounters to settle into the body's deeper architecture. These spaces act like sanctuaries, each one holding fragments of wisdom gathered from the world and preserving them with care. The lymph nodes are among the most important resting places for immune memory. These small, bean-shaped structures are scattered throughout the body like gentle lanterns placed along winding pathways. They sit beneath the jaw, in the neck, under the arms, soft curves of the groin. Each lymph node acts as a peaceful gathering hall where immune cells pause to examine lymph fluid that flows through at a slow and thoughtful pace. Within these nodes, memory B cells and memory T cells settle quietly after their creation. They remain near the pathways where dendritic cells once presented fragments of antigens, making the lymph nodes ideal locations for holding long-term memory. The gentle design of these structures ensures that memory cells have a calm environment in which to rest until they are needed again. The bone marrow serves as another sanctuary. This soft, spongy tissue tucked inside bones, particularly in the pelvis, ribs, and vertebrae, offers a warm, sheltered space where immune memory can linger. Memory B cells often settle here, immersing themselves in the marrow's peaceful surroundings. The bone marrow provides nutrients, gentle circulation, and a steady temperature, all of which support the long-term survival of memory cells. Because the marrow is involved in creating new blood cells, it is naturally rich in the subtle signals that guide immune function. Memory cells resting here become part of a broader rhythm of renewal, quietly observing the body's internal transitions while holding on to the memories that shape future responses. The spleen, though larger and more structured than the lymph nodes, plays a similar role in supporting immune memory. Resting softly beneath the left side of the rib cage, the spleen filters blood with unhurried precision. As blood flows through it, immune cells pause to examine anything unusual drifting in the plasma. Memory cells that settle in the spleen become part of this rich filtering process, resting in its calm tissues until a familiar antigen circulates through once again. Because the spleen interacts directly with the bloodstream, it provides memory T cells and memory B cells with access to patterns that may reappear anywhere in the body's inner network. The spleen thus becomes a hub of quiet vigilance, where immune memory is preserved with gentle awareness. Beyond these major structures, immune memory also resides within the tissues themselves. Tissue-resident memory T cells and, in some cases, tissue-resident memory B cells form a quiet layer of awareness throughout the skin, lungs, digestive tract, and mucosal linings. These cells rest within the very surfaces that meet the world, like sentinels of memory embedded in the outermost layers of the internal landscape. They do not travel far. Instead, they remain in the tissues where the first encounter may have taken place, watching with calm eyes for any signs of a familiar presence. This localized form of memory ensures that the immune system can respond quickly and gently at the site of entry, preserving the harmony of the broader internal environment. The distribution of memory across these different sites reflects the immune system's deep reliance on homeostasis. For memory cells to remain healthy and stable over long periods, they depend on the body's finely tuned sense of balance. Water levels, for instance, must remain stable. The lymphatic system plays a key role in this, moving fluid through the nodes and returning excess water to the bloodstream. When water levels rise beyond what the tissues can hold, the lymphatic vessels absorb the excess and deliver it to the cardiovascular system for gentle release. Conversely, when water levels are low, These combined systems conserve fluid, helping maintain the environment in which memory cells rest. Temperature regulation also contributes to the preservation of immune memory through the coordinated efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems. The body maintains a warm and steady internal climate. Blood vessels widen to release heat or narrow to conserve it. Muscles shiver softly to generate warmth when needed. The respiratory system adjusts the temperature of inhaled air, and the skin releases or retains heat depending on environmental conditions. These quiet processes form a protective envelope of consistency around memory cells, ensuring they persist without strain or disruption. As we imagine the spaces where immune memory resides, a picture emerges of a body that dedicates its quietest, most sheltered regions to the preservation of understanding. Lymph nodes, bone marrow, spleen, and tissues, each of these areas serves as a library of biological experience. They hold the impressions of past encounters, storing them gently in the forms of memory cells that wait with patience. These cells do not demand action or attention. They simply rest, prepared to awaken with soft efficiency if the same antigen ever returns. This network of resting places creates a sense of continuity within the immune system. The body becomes not just a collection of cells and signals, but a landscape of memories, each one placed in a location where it can be preserved safely. Memory B cells and memory T cells form connections across these spaces, linking the lymph nodes to the bone marrow, the spleen to the tissues, and the broader internal pathways to the smallest corners of the body's quiet architecture. Through these connections, the immune system maintains an awareness that is both local and global, specific and general, all woven together through the gentle threads of memory. To envision where immune memory lives is to imagine walking through a peaceful library in the early morning. The spaces are calm, the shelves are lined with quiet recollections, and a soft light falls across the room. Each memory cell sits like a carefully placed book, holding a story that may be revisited one day. Even when unopened, the stories remain intact, preserved for the moment they are needed again. As Part 12 comes to a rest, the quiet elegance of immune memory becomes clearer. It does not live in a single place. It lives throughout the body in the stillness of lymph nodes, the warmth of bone marrow, the calm filtration of the spleen, and the peaceful tissues that meet the world. This distributed memory allows the immune system to respond with grace whenever familiar patterns reappear, protecting the body while maintaining its unbroken sense of harmony. 13. The body's libraries of experience. Throughout the soft interior of the body, where the currents of blood and lymph weave continuously in their quiet patterns, there exists a kind of gentle record-keeping. This record is not written in ink or carved into stone. It does not exist in words or symbols or conscious recollections. Instead, it is held in living cells, in small clusters of memory that rest within the body's sheltered spaces. These are the body's libraries of experience, places where the immune system stores impressions of the world it has encountered, preserving them with a peaceful patience that endures for years, sometimes for a lifetime. To imagine these libraries, picture the immune memory cells resting within the tissues, bone marrow, lymph nodes, and spleen. Each memory cell holds a single story, the shape of an antigen, the pattern of a molecule, the quiet recognition formed during a past encounter. These stories are not dramatic, they are not urgent, they are delicate impressions, subtle understandings that help the immune system respond with calm familiarity when a known pattern returns. Together, they form a library of experiences, gently guiding the immune system's long-term awareness. Within the lymph nodes, these memories are preserved with particular care. After the first encounter has been resolved and active immune responses begin to fade, memory B cells and memory T cells settle into the calm chambers of the node. Here, surrounded by a gentle flow of lymph and supported by a network of structural cells, they rest like small volumes placed carefully onto a quiet shelf. The lymph node slows the movement of lymph fluid, giving memory cells a serene environment in which they can remain steady and undisturbed. When new fragments of antigens drift through the node, passing by on soft currents, memory cells sense them with a quiet attentiveness. If a familiar pattern appears, these cells awaken not with haste but with certainty, recalling the memory stored long ago. The bone marrow holds its own collection of experiences. As new blood cells are created within its warm, spongy interior, the marrow provides a nurturing environment where memory B cells can remain for extended periods. These cells are preserved not through isolation, but through the gentle rhythms of creation and renewal that define the marrow's daily life. They rest among developing blood cells, supported by steady temperature regulation and the continuous circulation of nutrients. The cardiovascular and lymphatic systems maintain water balance in the tissues, drawing in excess fluid when needed and returning it gently to the bloodstream. This balance helps sustain a calm internal environment that allows memory cells to endure over long stretches of time. The spleen, too, holds part of the body's library of experience. As a hub for filtering blood, the spleen is constantly exposed to the subtle patterns drifting through the bloodstream. Memory T cells and memory B cells resting in the spleen wait in quiet readiness, observing the flow of antigens that may pass by. Because the spleen filters the blood directly, it allows immune memory to spread gently through the entire body. A memory cell resting here becomes part of a distributed awareness, one that quietly supports the body's understanding of past encounters. Yet immune memory does not reside only in these central structures. It is woven throughout the tissues themselves, especially in places where the body meets the external world. Tissue-resident memory T cells, in particular, remain in the soft lining of the lungs, the delicate layers of the digestive tract, and the outermost layers of the skin. These cells form localized collections of experience, resting within the tissues like small lanterns placed at key points across the body's inner map. They do not drift through the bloodstream or migrate through the lymphatic system. Instead, they stay rooted in the tissues where the first encounter may have taken place, preserving the memory exactly where it may be most useful if the same pattern returns. The interconnectedness of these memory libraries reflects the immune system's dependence on homeostasis. Fluid balance must remain stable for memory cells to survive peacefully. When water levels rise, the lymphatic system absorbs the excess and delivers it to the bloodstream for gentle release. When water levels fall, the body conserves fluid, ensuring memory cells remain in a supportive environment. Temperature, too, must remain within a narrow range. The cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems adjust continuously to preserve this steady climate, widening blood vessels to cool the body or narrowing them to hold warmth, guiding air gently through the lungs, and releasing heat through the skin. Through these quiet processes, the body provides memory cells with the stable surroundings they need to remain preserved. Immune memory is not stored in any one place, nor is it static. It is dynamic, shifting gently as memory cells circulate, settle, or awaken. Some memory cells drift into new tissues over time, drawn by faint chemical signals. This fluidity and stillness form the balance that makes the immune system's memory so effective. It can remain quiet for long stretches of time, yet awaken with subtle swiftness when needed. To understand the body's libraries of experience is to recognize that the immune system learns through gentle repetition and silent observation. Each encounter, no matter how small, adds a new volume to the collection. Some memories are preserved through circulating memory cells, offering broad, body-wide awareness. Others are kept close to the tissues where they were first formed, ready to awaken quietly at the point of need. These distributed memories create a sense of continuity within the immune system, allowing it to grow wiser with every passing year. Imagine walking into a peaceful library in the early morning, when the air is still and the light is soft. Books rest quietly on shelves, each containing a fragment of knowledge. The room holds a sense of timelessness, a feeling that wisdom has been gathered here patiently, one experience at a time. This is how immune memory lives within the body. Each memory cell is like a carefully placed volume, storing a pattern, a shape, or a gentle recognition. Together, these cells preserve the body's history, enabling it to move through the world with quiet awareness. As Part 13 draws to a close, the notion of these internal libraries becomes a comforting reflection. The immune system does not forget the lessons it learns. It stores them softly, carries them gently, and retrieves them only when needed. Through these quiet collections of memory cells, the body remains in conversation with its past, steady, prepared, and deeply at peace. 14. Immune memory throughout life. Across the gentle span of a human lifetime, the immune system moves through its own seasons. Quiet shifts marked not by abrupt changes but by soft transitions, like the slow turning of light across a peaceful landscape. Immune memory, which begins forming during the earliest encounters after birth, grows, deepens, and transforms as the body matures. It gathers experiences quietly, storing them in its inner libraries, and responding with calm familiarity when patterns arise again. Yet the way immune memory behaves is not the same at each stage of life. It evolves, shaped by the body's wider rhythms, by growth, by aging, and by the subtle interplay between the organ systems that support its balanced environment. To understand immune memory throughout life is to look gently at these shifting phases, noticing the quiet ways the body learns, adapts, and holds on to what it has known. In the earliest years of life, the immune system is still learning the language of recognition. A newborn enters the world with a foundation of protection passed down from the parent antibodies received during pregnancy and through early nourishment. But the deeper layers of immune memory have yet to form. Every encounter during infancy becomes a lesson, a first meeting with the many patterns that drift through the world. The innate immune system responds instinctively, recognizing simple, broad shapes, while the adaptive immune system slowly begins to awaken. Lymph nodes become places of early learning, where tiny fragments from the environment are examined with quiet curiosity. Memory cells begin forming even in these early stages, though they remain few in number. The immune system at this age is like a young library with only a handful of books, its volumes small, its shelves waiting to be filled. As the child grows, the immune system grows with it. Encounters with new antigens through the air, through the foods eaten, through gentle contact with the world, become opportunities for learning. B cells and T cells awaken more often, expanding into plasma cells and memory cells that take their places in the tissues, bone marrow, and lymph nodes. The immune system becomes rich with experience, though this richness is formed slowly and gently over time. Each new memory becomes a soft thread woven into the tapestry of the developing body. The environment of childhood, often filled with new sensations, new surroundings, new interactions, becomes a steady source of fragments that help shape long-term memory. The body meets these encounters with calm persistence, storing impressions that may last long after the moments themselves have passed. During adolescence and early adulthood, immune memory reaches a kind of quiet peak. The body's organ systems work together with smooth coordination, maintaining homeostasis with remarkable efficiency. Water levels remain balanced through the cooperation of the lymphatic and cardiovascular systems. Temperature stays steady through the combined actions of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and skin systems. These stable conditions create an ideal environment for memory cells to flourish. The libraries of immune experience become well-stocked, filled with memories from earlier years. Circulating memory T cells and memory B cells drift through the body with peaceful vigilance, while tissue-resident memory cells rest in their local sanctuaries, ready to awaken if familiar patterns return. The immune system at this stage is steady and confident, its understanding deep, even if quiet. As adulthood continues, immune memory does not fade. It adjusts. Encounters with the world become less frequent or take on different forms, Yet the memory cells created earlier in life persist with gentle endurance. Some rest for decades, holding on to impressions formed long ago. Others gradually diminish in number, replaced by new cells when the immune system encounters unfamiliar patterns. The balance between old memories and new ones becomes part of the immune system's ongoing rhythm. The result is a steady, reliable awareness, an internal archive that guides the body with soft familiarity through many years. In the later decades of life, the immune system enters another phase, one marked by subtle shifts in its ability to gather new memories. The thymus, once active in guiding T cells through their early development, grows quieter with age. Fewer new T cells are produced, and the immune system becomes more reliant on the memory cells it has carried for so long. These cells, resilient and patient, remain active guides within the body, responding to familiar patterns with the same quiet clarity they held when they were formed. Yet the ability to recognize new antigens may grow more limited, not because of any sudden decline, but because the system no longer builds its libraries as easily as it once did. Instead, it treasures the memories it already holds, leaning on them with a gentle wisdom accumulated over time. The broader organ systems that support homeostasis also experience changes with age. Temperature regulation becomes more delicate, water balance shifts more easily, and fluid movement through tissues may slow. Each of these changes subtly influences the environment in which memory cells rest. Yet even as the body evolves, memory cells remain remarkably steadfast. They continue to drift, to settle, to wait, and to respond, holding on to the patterns they learned long ago, still ready to offer guidance whenever they are needed. Immune memory, in this sense, becomes one of the body's enduring companions, staying with it through every stage of life. The changes in immune memory throughout the lifespan are not disruptions but gentle transitions. Instead, it adjusts the way it uses its knowledge, storing some memories more deeply, recalling others more readily, and allowing new encounters to leave their impressions where they can. The landscape of immune memory becomes, over time, like a collection of stories gathered from decades of experience. Some stories are vivid and clear, remembered easily by memory cells that respond swiftly when needed. Others lie deeper within the tissues, seldom recalled but always present. Together, these memories form a quiet continuity that supports the body with patience. To imagine immune memory throughout life is to picture a landscape that grows and changes with the seasons. In infancy, the land is fresh, open, waiting. In childhood, new paths appear as experiences accumulate. In adulthood, the terrain becomes rich and full, with many places touched by understanding. Yet through all these stages, the paths remain connected, forming a map of experiences that help guide the body gently through the unfolding years. As Part 14 comes to a peaceful close, the enduring nature of immune memory stands out as one of the body's quiet triumphs. It is not fixed in place, but shaped by time, by growth, and by the simple fact of living. Throughout life, memory cells accompany the body, carrying lessons from the past with calm persistence. They help the immune system respond with grace, allowing the body to meet familiar patterns with understanding rather than strain. Through every season of life, immune memory remains a presence woven softly into the very fabric of the body. 15. Long-term protection. Over the years across the long stretch of human life, the immune system carries within it a quiet, enduring strength, one shaped not through force or urgency, but through gentle familiarity gained over time. Long-term protection is not a single moment, nor is it a fixed state. It is a soft, unfolding process that begins with the earliest encounters and continues in calm layers throughout a lifetime. Its presence is not loud or commanding. Instead, it dwells quietly in the tissues, in the lymphatic pathways, and within the cells that hold memory, like delicate fragments of sunlight. To explore long-term protection is to understand how the immune system weaves these memories into a lasting shield, one that supports the body with both resilience and serenity. Long-term protection begins with memory cells, those unassuming guardians formed after the first encounter with a new antigen. Memory B cells and memory T cells are created with remarkable care, shaped by the precise interactions that occurred during the early stages of the immune response. They carry an imprint of the antigen, a quiet recollection of its shape and structure. But this memory is nothing like human recollection. It is embedded in the physical architecture of the cell, resting as part of its identity. Once formed, memory cells settle into the peaceful spaces of the body, waiting for a time when their recognition may once again be needed. Their purpose is clear yet tranquil: to awaken gently if the familiar antigen returns, ensuring that the body responds with greater ease and clarity. What makes this long-term protection so powerful is the ability of memory cells to endure across years, sometimes across decades. Their quiet vigilance is supported by the body's broader systems of balance and homeostasis. Water levels are maintained with the steady coordination of the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems. When fluid becomes abundant, the lymphatic vessels collect the excess and return it to the bloodstream. When fluid is scarce, the body preserves what it has, ensuring that the internal landscape remains supportive. This stable environment allows memory cells to remain healthy and attentive over long periods, maintaining their readiness without strain. Temperature, too, plays a role in sustaining long-term immune protection. Through the combined efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems, blood vessels expand or contract to release or conserve heat. Muscles generate warmth through gentle contractions. The skin helps guide excess warmth outward, while the respiratory system adjusts the temperature of inhaled air. These processes ensure that the internal climate remains hospitable, preserving the well-being of memory cells that may rest in tissues throughout the body. Because memory cells persist calmly in these stable environments, the immune system gains the ability to respond more swiftly and efficiently when a familiar pattern returns. During a secondary encounter, memory cells awaken almost immediately. They do not need to study the antigen again, or wait for extensive guidance from dendritic cells and helper T cells. Instead, they recall the pattern they once recognized, stirring with quiet certainty. Memory B cells divide into new plasma cells that begin producing antibodies with gentle precision. Memory T cells awaken to guide the immune response, sending soft chemical signals and helping tissues adjust. The response is smoother, faster, and more refined, not because the immune system reacts more forcefully, but because it responds with greater understanding. This ease of response helps preserve the body's internal harmony. A familiar antigen may be addressed long before it has the chance to disrupt the calm balance of the tissues. The innate immune system remains supported by the swift clarity of the adaptive memory response. Homeostasis is maintained with minimal disturbance. Blood keeps flowing in its gentle rhythm, lymph continues its quiet drift, and the tissues feel little strain. This is the gift of long-term protection, a shield that requires no tension, a readiness that disturbs nothing. Over the years, the body continues to build upon this gentle library of memories. Some remain tucked away, seldom needed but always present. Others are called upon more frequently, each awakening reinforcing the immune system's recognition. A memory cell that responds to a familiar antigen may divide once again, creating new memory cells that carry the same pattern. In this way, immune memory can refresh itself, ensuring that long-term protection does not fade but adapts softly as life continues. The immune system is not rigid, it is fluid, reshaping its memories in ways that preserve understanding while sustaining the body's inner serenity. Long-term protection also reflects the immune system's quiet adaptability. Memory cells can drift through the bloodstream for years, yet they remain sensitive to the body's subtle signals. If tissues change, if the environment shifts, if the internal landscape adjusts its balance, memory cells adapt their resting patterns accordingly. Some may settle in new areas, Others may remain rooted where they first formed. This adaptability helps ensure that the immune system's protection remains relevant across the changing landscapes of life. There is a certain poetic beauty in the way long-term immunity reflects the body's history. Every memory cell carries a story of an encounter, stories of gentle recognition, careful learning, and quiet transformation. These stories are not dramatic. They are stored deep within the calm interior of the body, resting in the lymph nodes, bone marrow, spleen, and tissues. Each one, preserved through stable conditions and nurtured by homeostasis, becomes a piece of a lifelong tapestry of awareness. Imagine walking through a quiet field where lanterns have been placed over many years. Some lanterns are old, their light steady and enduring. Others are newer, glowing softly, adding to the gentle illumination of the landscape. These lanterns represent immune memories, each one contributing to the body's quiet readiness. Even in the stillness of night, the field remains warmly lit, not brightly, but gently. As decades pass, the immune system continues to rely on the calm wisdom stored in these memory cells. While the body may produce fewer new T cells as the thymus grows quieter, and fewer naive cells may circulate with the same abundance found in youth, the memory cells remain steadfast. They become trusted guides, helping the immune system navigate the familiar patterns of life with minimal strain. Their presence ensures that long-term protection remains not only effective but deeply balanced. As Part 15 comes to rest, the essence of long-term protection becomes beautifully clear. It is the body's way of carrying its experiences forward with grace. It is the quiet endurance of memory cells, supported by stable internal rhythms. It is the gentle awakening that follows familiarity. It is the soothing continuity of a system that never forgets what it has learned. Through every year, through every quiet shift in life's landscape, long-term protection remains a soft, steadfast companion, one that keeps watch without worry, preserving the body's harmony with peaceful understanding. 16. Immune memory in childhood and aging. Across the full arc of human life, the immune system grows, adapts, and shifts, with the same quiet continuity that marks the passing of seasons. From the first breath taken in infancy to the gentle slowing of the later decades, immune memory is always present, developing, refining, and adjusting in response to the body's changing needs. It does not remain the same from one age to the next. Instead, it matures in soft, layered stages, shaped by the internal environment and by the delicate balance among all the body's systems. To understand immune memory in childhood and aging is to observe how the body's capacity to learn from its encounters changes with time, how deeply these changes are woven into the body's rhythms, and how gently the system finds new ways to carry its wisdom forward. In childhood, the immune system is like a young forest alive with potential, open to experience, and flexible in its expanding understanding of the world. During the earliest months of life, much of the child's initial protection comes from antibodies passed down before birth and through early nourishment. These antibodies offer temporary guidance, helping create a peaceful buffer while the child's immune system begins to explore the world with its own senses. As infants encounter new antigens carried through air, food, or gentle contact with the environment, their innate immune cells respond first, recognizing broad and simple patterns. Soon after, the adaptive immune system begins to awaken, slowly building the first volumes of its library of memory. The lymph nodes, still small and delicate in early life, become busy with gentle learning. Dendritic cells bring in fragments for B cells and T cells to examine, and the immune system begins its careful process of recognition and memory formation. Because children encounter new antigens frequently, their adaptive immune systems expand rapidly. Memory B cells and memory T cells begin to settle into the tissues, bone marrow, and lymphatic structures, taking their places as guardians of the future. These early memories create a foundation of recognition that supports the child as they grow, forming the first threads in a tapestry of lifelong immune awareness. As childhood continues, the body's homeostatic systems mature. Water levels are carefully regulated by the coordination between the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems. Excess fluid is collected and returned gently to the bloodstream when needed. Fluid is conserved when the body senses that levels are low. This balance allows memory cells to rest in supportive environments, kept healthy by steady fluid movement. Temperature regulation also becomes more refined during childhood. The cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and skin systems work together quietly, keeping the internal climate stable, blood vessels widening to release heat, narrowing to conserve warmth, muscles contributing gentle warmth through small contractions. These processes ensure that memory cells, still new and growing, are protected within a consistent internal landscape. In adolescence and early adulthood, immune memory reaches a vibrant maturity. New encounters still occur, but many antigens have already been cataloged and stored in the immune system's inner libraries. Memory cells remain abundant and responsive, drifting through the lymphatic and circulatory pathways or resting peacefully in the tissues where they first formed. The thymus, a small, soft organ behind the breastbone, continues producing new T cells, guiding them through their early education before they take their place in the broader immune world. This period represents a time of great balance and responsiveness, when the immune system is at its most adaptable and its memory most expansive. But as the quiet rhythm of life continues, the body's internal landscape begins to shift again. The thymus, which was once active in shaping the early T cell repertoire, slowly becomes smaller and less active with age. This natural process, called involution, reduces the body's ability to produce new, naive T cells, cells that have not yet encountered an antigen. Instead, the immune system becomes increasingly reliant on the memory cells it has already created. These cells, long-lived and patient, continue their calm vigilance, responding to familiar patterns with practiced ease. In adulthood and into the later years, immune memory remains a steady companion. Memory B cells and memory T cells persist in the bone, marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, and tissues, preserving their recognition for long periods. Some remain active and alert, ready to respond quickly when needed. Others drift into deeper rest, contributing quiet strength to the body's internal archive. Long-term protection continues, supported by the same homeostatic processes that safeguard immune memory throughout life. Water balance is maintained gently by the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems, while temperature is regulated through the combined efforts of several organ systems acting in harmony. These stable conditions provide a peaceful environment that supports the longevity of memory cells in older adulthood. Yet with time, subtle changes accumulate. Memory cells persist, but the creation of new ones may slow. The body may take longer to recognize unfamiliar patterns because fewer naive cells remain available for new learning. Tissue environments may shift slightly as water balance becomes more sensitive and as temperature regulation grows more delicate. These changes do not erase immune memory or diminish its quiet value. Instead, they reflect the natural evolution of a system that has spent decades gathering knowledge, adjusting gently to the slower pace of aging. In the later years of life, immune memory becomes a treasured resource. The body relies on the careful recollections held by memory B cells and memory T cells, many of them decades old. These cells respond with calm swiftness to familiar antigens, offering protection shaped by experience. Even as the immune system becomes less adept at forming new memories, the old memories remain, providing guidance drawn from a lifetime of encounters. The immune system carries its wisdom forward, not through rapid responses, but through the enduring stability of what it has learned. To imagine immune memory throughout life is to see a landscape that changes gently with each passing season. In the early years, the land is fresh and open, with new paths appearing rapidly as experiences accumulate. In adulthood, the terrain becomes rich and full, its patterns deepened by repetition and stability. In the later years, the landscape grows quieter, but remains illuminated by the soft glow of memories formed long ago. Every phase has its own beauty, its own rhythms, its own ways of preserving what the body has learned. As Part 16 comes to its peaceful conclusion, the continuity of immune memory through childhood and aging reveals itself as one of the immune system's most serene achievements. It grows patiently in youth, steadies in adulthood, and endures with quiet grace in older age. Through every stage, it supports the body gently, offering recognition, clarity, and protection, shaped by a lifetime of softly gathered experiences. 17. Vaccination as guided memory formation. Within the gentle flow of the immune system's continual learning, there exists a uniquely calm and intentional kind of encounter, one that does not arise by chance, nor appear unexpectedly in the quiet tissues of the body. Instead, it is offered purposefully, with care and clarity, giving the immune system an opportunity to learn in a peaceful, guided way. This is the essence of vaccination, a soft invitation for the immune system to form memories without the stress of a full encounter. It is a deliberate whisper rather than a sudden confrontation, a way of teaching the immune system to recognize a pattern without exposing the body to the full presence of a living threat. In this way, vaccination becomes an example of immune memory shaped with intention, built gently to support long-term protection. To understand vaccination as guided memory formation, imagine presenting an immune cell with a pattern, not the entire form of a microbe, but only its quiet signature, a small, harmless trace. This trace might be a protein, a weakened version of the organism, or a tiny piece of genetic material that teaches the immune system how to identify a shape without exposing it to the full, active organism. When this pattern enters the body, the innate immune system notices it with its usual steady awareness. Macrophages and dendritic cells examine it thoughtfully, taking in the fragment and preparing to share it with the adaptive immune cells that rest in lymph nodes and other peaceful meeting places. The lymph nodes once again serve as central chambers of learning. As the harmless pattern flows into these soft structures, dendritic cells display its fragments to T cells and B cells. The cells examine the new shape with the same careful attention they use to study any unfamiliar presence. There is no urgent need for heightened response, no imbalance in homeostasis, no disruption of the body's serene environment. Instead, the immune system moves through its steps at a gentle pace: recognition, communication, and eventually, the quiet decision to form memory cells. When B cells and T cells awaken in response to a vaccination, they begin their slow transformations into plasma cells, memory B cells, and memory T cells, just as they would after a natural encounter. Plasma cells create antibodies soft, drifting reminders of the antigen's signature, while memory cells store the pattern deep within their structures. These memory cells settle into their resting places, taking up positions in the lymph nodes, bone marrow, spleen, and tissues. They stay there for years, sometimes even for decades, ready to awaken with quiet certainty if the same pattern appears again. What makes guided memory formation so profound is the way it supports the body's calm inner balance. Because the antigen presented during vaccination is attenuated, purified, or otherwise made gentle, the body does not experience the strain that might accompany a full infectious encounter. Homeostasis remains steady. Water balance is maintained through the seamless cooperation of the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems. Excess fluid continues to be absorbed and returned quietly to the bloodstream when needed, while low fluid states are met with careful conservation. Temperature remains stable through the ongoing efforts of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and skin systems, each contributing to the body's consistent internal climate. These processes ensure that the immune system can focus on learning, rather than reacting, preserving the serene environment that memory cells require to develop. Through this guided exposure, the immune system gains a form of memory that closely resembles the memory created during natural encounters. but without the stress placed on tissues or organ systems. The memory cells formed during vaccination carry the same ability to awaken with clarity, the same potential to support rapid and refined responses, and the same quiet endurance that allows them to persist over years. They become part of the internal library of immune experience, stored alongside memories formed through natural encounters. Over time, as the body receives more vaccinations throughout life, these guided memories accumulate gently. Each one adds a new volume to the immune system's inner library, expanding its awareness of the world's patterns. Some of these memories are formed early in life, when the immune system is young and eager to learn. Others develop later, offering continued protection as the immune system ages and becomes more reliant on the long-term memories it has gathered. These guided memories play a particularly important role in later adulthood, when the body's ability to produce new naive T cells begins to decline naturally. Memory cells created earlier in life and those formed through vaccination become treasured sources of recognition and preparedness. In the years that follow a vaccination, the immune system remains quietly ready. If the same antigen appears again, this time carried by a living microbe, the memory cells awaken almost immediately. The body responds not with confusion, but with quiet familiarity. B cells quickly become plasma cells, releasing antibodies that drift through the bloodstream like soft signals of recognition. The secondary response unfolds gracefully, preserving the body's inner calm while addressing the familiar pattern with refined efficiency. To picture vaccination as guided memory formation is to imagine a teacher offering a student a small, gentle introduction to a subject, just enough to help the student recognize its shape, its rhythm, its essence. The student does not face a challenge all at once. Instead, they encounter a peaceful version of it, learning steadily and without distress. When the challenge appears again, the student recognizes it immediately and responds with calm confidence. This is how the immune system learns through vaccination. It receives a gentle lesson, internalizes the pattern, and carries that memory forward with patience. As the decades unfold, these guided memories do not fade easily. They persist in the quiet corners of the immune system, held by memory B cells and memory T cells that rest in the bone marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, and tissues. Even in older adulthood, when new immune learning becomes slower and more delicate, these memories offer lasting guidance. They ensure that the immune system can rely on its deep reservoirs of recognition, even when fewer new memories are formed. As Part 17 draws to its serene conclusion, the soft purpose of vaccination becomes clear. It is a method of teaching the immune system gently, allowing it to remember without strain. It supports the body's inner harmony, invites the formation of memory cells in peaceful conditions. Through this guided form of learning, the body becomes better able to greet familiar patterns with ease, responding not with urgency, but with quiet understanding. 18. The balance of immune memory. Within the vast and gentle interior of the human body, where organs work in quiet cooperation and signals drift softly between cells, the immune system maintains a balance that is both delicate and enduring. Immune memory, with all its calm persistence, plays a central role in this equilibrium. It allows the body to recognize familiar patterns without effort, to respond with grace when needed, and to rest when the world around it poses no new demands. But the presence of immune memory must always be balanced, held in harmony with the body's need for stability, clarity, and peaceful internal rhythms. Too much memory, too little memory, or memory that awakens at the wrong time, would strain the tranquility that homeostasis works so carefully to preserve. Thus, the balance of immune memory becomes one of the body's quiet masterpieces, a gentle calibration of awareness and restraint. At the core of this balance is the relationship between memory cells and their environment. Memory B cells and memory T cells rest within the lymph nodes, the bone marrow, the spleen, and the tissues. But they do not remain fixed or rigid. They live in conversation with the body's broader systems, listening to chemical cues, responding to subtle shifts, and adjusting their own quiet activity to match the needs of the moment. When the internal environment is calm, memory cells remain at rest. When a familiar antigen appears, they awaken with precision. Their ability to remain silent or alert at the appropriate time reflects the deep harmony that sustains immune balance. Homeostasis supports this equilibrium in countless ways. Water balance, for example, plays a gentle but essential role. The cardiovascular and lymphatic systems coordinate to maintain appropriate fluid levels throughout the body. If excess water gathers within the tissues, the lymphatic vessels absorb it and return it slowly to the bloodstream. If fluid becomes scarce, the body conserves it, ensuring that the tissues remain softly hydrated and supportive. Memory cells depend on this consistency. Their survival, their longevity, and their quiet readiness are all shaped by the stable environment created through this careful management of fluid. Too much swelling or too little hydration would disturb their sanctuary, but the body's internal systems work together to maintain a calm setting in which these cells can endure. Temperature regulation, too, contributes deeply to the balance of immune memory. The cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and integumentary systems collaborate continuously to preserve the body's narrow thermal range. Blood vessels widen to release warmth, narrow to hold heat, and carry temperature signals throughout the body with serene efficiency. The skin helps release heat in moments of warmth. These processes ensure that memory cells rest in an environment where temperature does not swing too drastically in either direction. Such consistency allows memory cells to survive for years, sometimes decades, carrying their quiet recollections with gentle persistence. But the balance of immune memory involves more than environmental steadiness. It requires harmony between remembrance and openness to new learning. The immune system must hold on to its memories while remaining receptive to new patterns. In youth and early adulthood, this balance is naturally strong. The thymus produces new T cells, and the bone marrow generates fresh B cells, allowing the immune system to learn from new encounters while preserving older memories. As the body ages, the creation of new naive cells slows, and the immune system becomes more dependent on its existing memories. The balance shifts gently, leaning more heavily on the wisdom accumulated over a lifetime. Yet even this shift does not break the harmony. The immune system adjusts softly, relying on its deep banks of memory while making more selective choices about new learning. Immune memory also balances activity and restraint. Memory cells must know when to awaken and when to remain silent. If they were to respond unnecessarily, to activate in the absence of a familiar pattern, the internal harmony of the body could be disrupted. Thus, memory cells read subtle cues with care. They respond only when the antigen they recognize appears, and even then, their activation unfolds with calm precision. This restraint protects the body from excessive responses and preserves the stillness needed to maintain health. The tissues themselves contribute to the balance. Tissue-resident memory T cells remain rooted in areas such as the skin, lungs, and digestive tract, but they do not act without clarity. They observe quietly, sensing the environment with familiarity. Their presence enhances the immune system's readiness without disturbing the tissues. Peace. They awaken gently, communicating with other immune cells through small chemical signals that guide a measured response. Their balance reflects a deep wisdom, an understanding that readiness is important, but so is the preservation of calm. In the lymph nodes, where memory cells are often most concentrated, the balance is even more refined. Lymph flows slowly through these structures, bringing with it fragments from tissues across the body. Memory cells sit in quiet corners, sensing these fragments as they pass. If a known pattern appears, the memory cells begin to prepare with calm certainty. If not, they remain still. The lymph node itself sustains this balance with its gentle flow, its soft architecture, and its ability to slow movement enough for thoughtful recognition to occur. It provides the ideal setting for memory cells to exist in a state of tranquil readiness. Because it filters blood directly, it exposes memory cells to antigens from across the body. Yet even in this more dynamic environment, memory cells remain sensitive to the difference between familiar and unfamiliar patterns. Their responses are shaped by the spleen's careful filtration, which supports learning without overwhelming the immune system with unnecessary signals. The balance of immune memory is also evident in the way antibodies persist in the bloodstream. After an encounter or a vaccination, antibodies continue to drift through the blood like tiny, gentle reminders of the past. Their presence offers protection without requiring constant activation from memory cells. This passive memory adds another layer of harmony, ensuring that the immune system does not need to respond actively unless a true need arises. To imagine the balance of immune memory, picture a serene lake at sunrise. The surface is still, but beneath that calm water lies a world of movement, soft currents, drifting fish, and the quiet interplay of light and shadow. The lake's surface remains peaceful because everything beneath it moves in balance. Memory cells, antibodies, tissues, and organ systems behave much like these hidden currents, each contributing its own gentle force, maintaining the calm surface above. As Part 18 comes to a quiet close, the delicate equilibrium of immune memory reveals itself as one of the body's most intricate and peaceful achievements. It is a balance between past and present, between readiness and rest, between the small spark of recognition and the vast stillness of the internal world. Through this harmony, the immune system sustains its enduring strength, offering protection that never intrudes upon the body's tranquility. 19. The symphony of cells working together. Deep within the quiet interior of the human body, where blood flows with patient rhythm and tissues breathe in their own unhurried way, the immune system does not act alone. It is part of a vast, cooperative symphony in which countless cells, signals, and organ systems blend their soft contributions into a single, harmonious whole. This symphony is not loud or dramatic. It does not rely on sudden crescendos or forceful movements. Instead, it unfolds like a gentle orchestral piece played at twilight, steady, measured, and profoundly balanced. Each cell plays its part with delicate precision, responding not to haste but to the subtle cues that circulate through the body's internal pathways. To understand this symphony is to see how immune memory, adaptive response, and homeostasis join hands in a quiet dance that sustains life. Every movement begins with communication. Cells of the immune system do not act independently. They speak to one another through soft chemical signals, known as cytokines and chemokines. These molecules drift between cells like faint musical notes carried on a breeze. They are small, delicate messages, advising a cell to awaken or encouraging it to rest, guiding another toward a place where it may be needed, or inviting it to share what it has learned. The cells listen carefully. They respond only when the signal aligns with their own purpose, ensuring that the harmony of the entire system is preserved. Within this symphony, dendritic cells serve as gentle guides, messengers who gather fragments of the world and carry them inward, presenting their discoveries to T cells and B cells in the lymph nodes. These dendritic cells are like soft-voiced narrators, offering the immune system a story that needs careful interpretation. They do not act with urgency. They move slowly, drifting through tissues and into the lymphatic pathways, supported by the steady rhythm of lymph flow. When they arrive in the lymph nodes, they settle into quiet corners where T cells pass by. The presentation of an antigen becomes a moment of shared understanding, a soft call and response that guides the immune system toward recognition. Helper T cells join the symphony with their measured leadership. Once awakened, they release signals that help B cells begin their thoughtful transformation, encouraging them to differentiate into plasma cells or memory B cells. They also support cytotoxic T cells, helping them prepare to assist cells that may be carrying unfamiliar patterns. In every step, helper T cells act like the conductors of the immune symphony, not commanding forcefully but offering gentle direction, ensuring that every part of the immune system finds its place within the broader harmony. Cytotoxic T cells contribute a quiet strength. They drift through tissues with a kind of aware stillness, noticing cells that may need support. When they identify a cell presenting an unfamiliar or altered pattern, they respond calmly, using soft chemical encouragement to guide that cell toward a peaceful conclusion. Their role is precise, not aggressive, maintaining the integrity of the body's landscape without disturbing its quiet balance. Plasma cells offer another melody. These cells, born from B cells after gentle activation, settle into bone marrow or lymphatic tissues and release antibodies that float through the bloodstream like tiny notes of memory. These antibodies carry with them the shape of past encounters, drifting softly and alerting the immune system when familiar patterns appear. They do not demand attention. Instead, they weave themselves seamlessly into the body's internal music, offering subtle reminders that help maintain readiness without noise. Memory B cells and memory T cells contribute the deeper tones of the symphony. They rest quietly in their chosen places, some in the lymph nodes, others in the bone marrow, spleen, or tissues holding the long, steady notes of recognition. These cells remain silent until needed, awakening only when the familiar patterns they once learned return. Their awakening is not a sudden burst. It is a soft deepening of the melody, a rising chord that signals the start of a refined and graceful response. Supporting all of this are the organ systems that form the foundation of the body's inner harmony. The cardiovascular system carries immune cells through the bloodstream, allowing them to drift from one region to another with gentle purpose. Its steady pulse creates the rhythm of the symphony, the constant, soothing beat that underlies every interaction. The lymphatic system adds its own soft counterpoint. It moves fluid slowly, without force, guiding immune cells into the lymph nodes where learning takes place. Its channels are like quiet pathways through a forest, creating moments of pause that allow the immune system to reflect and remember. Homeostasis ensures that the internal environment remains calm, stable, and supportive. Water balance is carefully maintained through the cooperative efforts of the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems. When fluid builds up, lymphatic vessels carry it away with serene efficiency. When the body needs to conserve water, the circulatory system adjusts accordingly. Through this balance, immune cells rest in tissues that are neither swollen nor depleted, supported by a consistent environment that allows their quiet work to unfold smoothly. Temperature regulation adds yet another layer to the symphony. The cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and skin systems work together to maintain a steady internal climate. Blood vessels widen to release warmth, narrow to preserve it, muscles create heat through small contractions, and the skin guides excess warmth outward. These processes ensure that immune cells, especially those holding memory, remain in an environment where they can function gently for years. A consistent temperature keeps their internal structures stable, their signals clear, and their memory enduring. Even within the tissues themselves, the immune symphony continues. Cells that line the lungs, the digestive tract, and the skin collaborate quietly with tissue-resident memory T cells, offering gentle signals that help maintain awareness at the body's outermost boundaries. These tissues serve as the first spaces where the body meets the world, and their cooperation with immune memory helps ensure that this meeting remains peaceful and well understood. It adjusts itself with each new encounter. When a familiar pattern reappears, the memory response rises softly, strengthening the melody. When the body encounters something new, the early movements of the immune response guide the symphony toward learning. When the body is at rest, the immune system recedes into gentle quiet. To picture this symphony is to imagine standing at the edge of a quiet lake at dusk, listening to the subtle sounds that blend into the atmosphere. A soft breeze through leaves, the calm lap of water against the shore, distant birds settling into evening stillness. None of these sounds is overwhelming on its own, yet together they form a harmonious whole. This is the immune system at work, subtle, balanced, present, and deeply interconnected. As Part 19 comes to a gentle close, the essence of the immune symphony becomes clear. Long-term protection, immediate response, memory, and balance all weave together into a single, continuous flow of activity. Each cell, each organ, each signal contributes its own quiet melody to the broader harmony. Together, they support the body with a serene strength, listening, learning, remembering, and responding in ways that keep the internal world peaceful and whole. 20. A quiet summary of how the body remembers. Across the serene landscape of the human body, where tissues breathe in their gentle rhythms and cells drift through quiet channels of blood and lymph, immune memory stands as one of the body's most peaceful triumphs. It is not a single event, nor a sudden awakening. To bring this calm journey to its close is to look back on the quiet pathways that have shaped the body's understanding, to feel how each encounter has left a gentle imprint, and to see how the entire system weaves these impressions into a lasting harmony. Immune memory begins with the body's first encounters, moments when an unfamiliar pattern drifts softly into the tissues and catches the attention of innate immune cells. Dendritic cells, acting as the body's thoughtful observers, take hold of these fragments and carry them inward. Their journey to the lymph nodes marks the start of a deeper kind of learning, one that invites B cells and T cells to study the new pattern with calm attention. Within the sanctuary of the lymph node, where lymph flows slowly and quietly, adaptive cells begin their soft awakening. They examine, reflect, and prepare to remember. From these first encounters, the creation of memory unfolds like the gentle unfolding of a flower. Cells, sending antibodies drifting through the bloodstream like small notes of awareness. Other B cells become memory B cells, carrying the imprint of the antigen within their quiet interiors. T cells follow a similar path, with some becoming helpers, others becoming cytotoxic, and a select few becoming memory T cells that will endure long after the moment has passed. These memory cells take their places in the lymph nodes, bone marrow, spleen, and in the tissues themselves, forming a network of gentle vigilance. The body supports these memories through homeostasis, through the unbroken stability of its internal environment. Water balance is held steady by the combined efforts of the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems, which ensure that tissues remain softly hydrated, free from swelling or depletion. Temperature is maintained through the cooperation of the cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular, and skin systems, keeping memory cells within a climate where they can rest peacefully for years. These stable surroundings allow the memories held in each cell to remain clear and enduring. As life continues, immune memory grows with it, shaped by childhood encounters, strengthened in adulthood, and treasured in later years. A child's immune system learns quickly, storing new impressions with every soft meeting with the world. In adolescence and early adulthood, the immune system reaches a kind of harmony, its memories deep, its responses balanced, its ability to learn steady and strong. With age, the body shifts gently toward reliance on the memories formed earlier in life. The thymus grows quieter, new learning slows, yet the memories remain held by cells that endure with quiet persistence. Vaccination becomes a way of guiding this gentle learning, offering the immune system a peaceful introduction to patterns it may one day meet. These guided memories form carefully, supported by homeostasis, allowing the body to learn without strain. Later, when the antigen appears again, the memory response unfolds with calm familiarity, preserving the body's inner harmony. In the great symphony of the immune system, memory cells form the deeper notes, the steady tones that support every movement. Dendritic cells gather information, helper T cells guide communication, cytotoxic T cells maintain quiet integrity, plasma cells release antibodies like drifting echoes, and memory cells rest in the background, holding their soft knowledge until needed. Together, These cells move in harmony with other organ systems, responding to the world with grace and precision. When a familiar pattern returns, the memory response rises gently, never overwhelming the calm interior of the body. B cells awaken and create antibodies with refined ease. T cells guide the response with clarity, and the entire immune system acts with the assurance of something long known. The body remains balanced, untroubled by the appearance of something once encountered. This gentle familiarity is the heart of immune memory, the quiet comfort of recognition. To imagine immune memory as a whole is to picture a landscape of soft lanterns glowing across the body's interior. Some lanterns were lit in childhood, others in adolescence, and others still through guided encounters like vaccination. They do not flicker loudly or demand attention. They glow with a steady reassurance. Even when the body rests deeply or moves through the slower rhythms of age, these lanterns remain lit, casting their soft light across the tissues, guiding the immune system with the wisdom of years. And so, as Part 20 draws to a peaceful close, the entirety of immune memory comes together like a calm, thoughtful breath. It begins with gentle encounters, grows through learning, endures through stability. It is the body's quiet history written not in words, but in the soft architecture of cells that remember. It is a story of patience, harmony, and balance, carried gently through a lifetime.